Can I have your attention, please? We're going to call this meeting to order. Can I have order, please? Thank you. Roll call, please.
Nolan, Winfrey,
Here.
Ellenberg,
Present.
Davis,
Present.
Unfortunately, we do not have a quorum. This will not be a formal meeting of the board because of the lack of a quorum. However, we will go through our protocols as usual. And at this time, I'm going to ask Commissioner Shoemaker to give us the invocation.
If I could have everyone please bow their heads. Dear Heavenly Father, I come to you humbly, and I pray the rest of us do also, Lord. This has troubled us too long. The sorrow that's being caused over this, the fact that we are dividing each other over this is harsh. The fact that we are here today, we thank you because we are blessed to live in a nation where we can disagree. I pray that you will open all of our hearts today, that we may stop hating each other, stop letting us divide each other, and return to a place of civil discord where we actually want to hear each other, not just hear the words, but actually accept what they're saying, take it in. An effort of love and fairness. We know how great you are, Lord. We know you can heal all things and fix all things, and all things are capable through you. I ask you that you would, with all of us today, give us the strength and the courage to be like you want us to be. Be the best that you have made us to be, not the one that the enemy wants us to be. Help us to open our hearts and minds to each other. Remember that we are told to love thy neighbor. That doesn't mean we always will agree with that neighbor. I understand that. But we need to stop looking at each other as enemies. The true enemy is out there, and he is pitting us against each other. And I ask that you may help us find a middle ground that works for all, Lord. I ask you all these things in your Son's holy name. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation.
Of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Amen.
Okay, at this time, we're going to open it up for public addresses to the board with this caveat. Keep your comments as brief as possible. Make sure you state your name and your city of residence. If your comments are going to be redundant to something that has already been expressed, please free up the time so that we can get on to the business that we're here for, and that is the Q&A with Dr. Hackert. So if we can quickly dispense with this section of the agenda, we can get to what you are here for. Okay? First speaker.
Hello, my name is Ashley Prue, and I'm from Fenton. I am here on my own behalf, but I'm also on behalf of a group of over 300 county residents. Some of them have joined us today, but many of our supporters are teachers that are unable to attend this meeting. We support Dr. Pamela Hackert in the K-6 mandate. As cases rise, we hope that the mandate will be extended to include preschool through 12th grade, similar to our neighboring Oakland County. Today, I would like to remind the commissioners, the Board of Health, and Dr. Hackert that the majority of this county's residents do support mask mandates. I have personally talked to many individuals in the county from all the districts that support the mandate. Our group includes many teachers that have started school and wish they could be here to express their gratitude and support. The teachers I speak with are also expressing deep concern for the high school students that are not currently mandated to wear masks. I urge each commissioner to remember that mask mandates are widely accepted, and that while some parents may disagree, that we do know and recognize that every parent in this room loves their children very much and simply wants what they believe is best for their child. While some may disagree, know that the vast majority of us recognize that the general public does not always know what is best for the safety of the community. We recognize that mask mandates are necessary to keep our most vulnerable safe. We stand with our health department, and we thank you for doing what is necessary, even when there is opposition and even when the decision is extremely difficult. Thank you again to the commissioners, the Board of Health, and Dr. Hackert for your service to this county. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Arthur Woodson, Flint, Michigan. I just ask that we respect one another because you're going to say something that I don't agree with, and I'm going to say something that you don't agree with. And I'm going to, keep my mouth shut while you're speaking out of respect so that I can hear what it is that you have to say. So I'm asking people who do not agree with what others have to say, please wait until after they are done and let them know where you stand. But other than that, allow the person to say what they have to say. So I'm going to start off by saying this. Dr. Hackert, I do not agree with all the time. I'm at odds with her right now about the Flint water crisis because she does not agree that the water is not safe. She removed the Genesee County Medical Society memo that said that pregnant women, immune deficiency, and kids under 6 can use filtered water from the tap. And that is absolutely absurd. But I'm not calling for her resignation. The question here is, do we want the positivity rate to go up to where they shut down the schools and your kid be at home? And once they do that, now you're going to be protesting down at the Capitol. Why not put something in place that can keep the positivity rate down so that our kids can go to school? I was reading in CDC where the teacher took off her mask and the kids up in the first 2 rows got infected by this one teacher. And they did contact tracing.
10 seconds, Art.
Over in Florida, they shut down the schools. In Atlanta, they shut down the schools. Texas, they shut down the schools. They done ran out of ICU beds.
All right, time
So
is up, sir.
why not use something that will protect us? So that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Dear Genesee County Board of Commissioners and Dr. Pamela Hackert.
Can we have your name and
Oh, yes,
city?
I'm sorry. That was further down, but yes, so my name is Lori Cole from Clio, Michigan, and I have given each one of the Board of Commissioners and Dr. Hackert a copy of what I'm going to say, okay? So I will start over. Dear Genesee County Board of Commissioners and Dr. Pamela Hackert, thank you for this opportunity. My name is Lori Cole from Clio, Michigan. I am a local piano teacher and mom of 7 children. First of all, let me say that we are asking for a choice here and that we have been given rights by God, our Creator. Number 1, the masks do not protect against COVID-19. Dr. Fauci clearly stated in his emails that the molecules of the virus are too small and can pass through any mask, even an N95. This is validated by Myosha industrial hygienists and others. Secondly, a recent study out of Brown University says that children born during the pandemic had a significant drop in IQ due to a lack of facial and verbal cues. How are children supposed to learn phonics and reading when they and their teacher have a mask on? Not to mention, children need the compassionate smiles and approval and human kindness from their teachers and their peers. Thirdly, masks are very unhealthy due to oxygen deprivation, causing headaches, lethargy, asthma, and anxiety. My youngest daughter has also had problems with acne for the last year due to the constant wearing of masks. Furthermore, masks spread germs, diseases, and harmful bacteria, according to a study at the University of Florida, testing masks worn in a school setting. Little children often have runny noses due to teething and allergies, and now all of that is inside the mask. Moreover, mandating masks in a school that is not air-conditioned when it's 90 degrees outside is cruel.
10 seconds.
This is child abuse. Dr. Hackert, you are violating your Hippocratic Oath and the Nuremberg Code by these mandates. And in conclusion, the mandating of masks, vaccines, and lockdowns is not the American way. We, as citizens of the United States of America and the great state of Michigan, are asking for a choice, demanding a choice. And the Ninth Amendment of the Constitution gives us that choice.
Matthew Smith, 8228 Davison Road, Davison Township. I'm going to approach my public comment from a different angle today. What you see behind us are people on both sides passionate about government, local government, and the decisions being made. Whether you have people here supporting this or not supporting this, you have passionate people, okay? So here's the deal. What's disrespectful is not the people in this room disagreeing with each other. What's disrespectful is that there was a special meeting called and only 3 of you commissioners out of 9 show up. Instead of turning this on the people, whether we're for masks, against masks, how about we start turning it on the county commission that's not representing us properly? So I publicly would like to thank Commissioner Shoemaker, Davis, and Winfrey for having the courage to show up today. And like I say, you've got passionate people on both sides, people that want masks to be mandated, people that want it to be optional, passionate people about what's going on in their local government. Who's not passionate is the 6 commissioners who failed to show up today.
Can I speak? Okay. My name's Debbie McIntosh. I live in Grand Blanc, Michigan, and I'm here to tell you Ryan's story. And I would like everybody to Google, COVID is causing diabetes 1 in our children. Google it. I have to watch a Dexcom daily to save my grandson's life daily. He drops so fast. It's doing something to the beta cells. Maybe your children will survive COVID, but it's doing something to their organs that will be lifelong. So I'm asking you to Google that. Now my 14-year-old grandson who plays football, we constantly have to save his life daily and make sure that he does not drop, pass out, or die, and he'll probably have affected organs for the rest of his life from diabetes 1 caused by COVID. Last year, a year and a half ago in March, he caught it when Trump called it a hoax and said only 7 people will die, 7 people will have this and it will go away. It didn't end up going away. It ended up affecting people and making them sick. So I would like you to think of things like this. The pediatrics around all these doctors and everywhere, the scientists are saying, please wear a mask. It at least helps them, the spread of it, which I believe is true. And I don't believe anybody here has the right to dispute Dr. Hackert and the scientists when they're the ones that know more about this. Are any of you doctors? No. Let the doctors do their job.
Yep. I'm Audrey Young Muhammad, and I'm coming to you again, as I did last week, not just from the perspective of just my family members that I have, but I'm also an occupational therapist that worked in the schools. I worked in 4 different school districts last year. So I got a chance to see what happened in the school with wearing masks. I saw one school district that demanded the mask to be worn. They had 0 incidents. I went to 3 other school districts that almost gave it an option. The teachers didn't really care. They were supposed to wear the mask. We were constantly saying, put your mask on correctly. I saw classrooms shut down. I saw children going home. I saw the runny noses. As an occupational therapist, we could not cross-contaminate. If you were in one classroom, I could not treat 2 children from 2 separate classrooms to help keep control in one school district. However, in the other school districts, they were allowing us to take them from classroom to classroom. It didn't matter. So I saw the contamination. I saw the lack of cleaning behind the children in the schools. I saw the hands and the runny noses and the children touching, and there wasn't always hand sanitizer sitting in the classroom for the children to clean their hands. I saw that. 2 different counties. One county had control of it. Unfortunately, it was Genesee County that did not have control of it, the schools that I worked in. They were not in the Flint Public Schools that I was in. It was outside of the school, Flint Public School District. So I stand with Dr. Hackert and her decision with wearing the mask. It may not keep it down 100%. There's no barrier there to keep it down 100%. However, it helps and it assists. They have what they call...
Seconds, Audrey.
Okay, my time is up? Okay, they have microband. Use microband to help prevent it. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Lori Schaefer. I'm a Genesee County resident and concerned grandma from Goodrich. I want to express my support for Dr. Hackert and the mask mandate she's issued for Genesee County schools. I appreciate her passion to help, her credentials, and her experience, which together qualify her to make informed decisions regarding appropriate public response to the uptick in COVID-19, as she was hired to do. Her education in medicine, public health, law, and epidemiology have given her highly informed insight into the appropriate response to safeguard our children and how to work toward ending this pandemic. Her experience as both an Oakland County and a Wayne County medical director have given her experience in preventive measures in public settings. I think that Genesee County is blessed to have such a qualified and dedicated employee. I'm horrified that a Grand Blanc woman has been arrested, arraigned, and faces 20 years in prison for threatening Dr. Hackert's life for doing her job. I'm deeply disappointed in members of this County Board of Commissioners who've insisted on this special meeting for what amounts to, it appears to me, that it's just an opportunity to harass and bully her for doing her job. I'm saddened. And I apologize to her for the COVID misinformation and disinformation which is thrown at her repeatedly, and to which she must respond repeatedly in measured tones with facts, only to have them denied and ignored by people. Finally, I wish Dr. Hackert and her family well, and I pray for her safety. I thank her for all her efforts, and I hope she continues to do the right thing for Genesee County's public health. Finally, I pray for the health and welfare of our schools, teachers, bus drivers, children, and their families.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name's Alicia Hensley. I'm from Davison, Michigan. I come to you today. I spoke last week. I come today not for myself, but on behalf of silenced physicians and teachers who have reached out to me personally and gave me direct quotes. So I'm reading them to you today because they are silenced, threatened, their livelihoods, their jobs would be in jeopardy if they spoke out. This is what they've been told. That's why they're not here. My patients and their families, these are from silenced physicians. My patients and their families deserve choices. We now know how to treat COVID. The risk just isn't there for our children. For most children, the job of being a student is enough without forcing them to meet mask hygiene standards that most adults can't even accomplish. Our role as providers is first and foremost to do no harm. These masks are currently harming our children. Another one said, the mental health decline I have seen in my pediatric patients is astonishing. Another one said, the last one for today about the physicians, I can't sign any mask waivers. My hands have been tied. My hands have been tied? By who? Who is tying these physicians' hands who are reaching out? So from the school staff, the ones that are caring for our kids day after day, they say to me, thank you for being our voice when we can't have one. We've been silenced for fear of our jobs. Not seeing our students' faces is awful. Covering the nose and mouth with fabric have caused sensory overload, feelings of panic, and extreme anxiety. Another one says, I teach first grade. Last year, about 95% of my classroom would come in with dirty masks. I mean, inside and out, disgusting. Another one said, I didn't see any academic growth this past year in our children. These students that I have seen in previous years. Let us have our classrooms back and let us do what we do best. This is just a snippet.
10 seconds.
Why is this nation our state, and more importantly, our own health department and our elected officials that we elected targeting our children? Your answer? Because they are easily silenced. But let me tell you, their parents are not.
My name is Donna Anderson, and I live in Fenton. First, I want to thank Dr. Hackert for doing her job and looking out for the health and safety of our county's children and school staff. You've done what so many of our public employees and politicians don't do, and that is that you had the courage to make the decision that's best for people's health despite the backlash that you're experiencing. It often takes courage to do the right thing, and I thank you for yours. Second, this is a medical issue, and Dr. Hackert is the medical director. It's not an opinion issue. It doesn't matter what my opinion is. It doesn't matter what the opinion of anyone else is, unless they're a physician or an infectious disease specialist. And in case anybody doesn't know, 400 children have died in the United States from COVID. This is not a zero-risk issue. Third, I would encourage all parents to ask their child's physician whether their child should wear a mask at school.
Order, please.
Don't let the fact that this medical issue...
Okay, if we cannot do this decent and in order, we're going to close this public comment session.
Don't let the fact that this medical issue has been politicized affect how you handle it.
Hey, please calm down.
Okay, I say again, if we cannot do this decent and in order, we're just going to suspend it and go on with the business at hand. So please be quiet while the person is speaking at the podium. Okay, go ahead, ma'am, I'm sorry.
Third, I would encourage all parents to ask their child's physician whether their child should wear a mask at school. Don't let the fact that this medical issue has been politicized affect how you handle it with your child. I know we all love our children, and there's nothing more important than keeping them healthy. Talk to their doctor. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good morning. My name's Lara Africa from Linden, Michigan. One of the questions I would have for Dr. Hackert would be, would she be open to inviting an industrial hygienist in a public forum to talk about the efficacy or non-efficacy of masks? I spoke last week at the county commissioners meeting about perpetuating the stigma of oppression and tyranny in the city of Flint and Genesee County. Since the 1936-37 sit-down strike, Flint and the surrounding suburbs have struggled to break free from control, bad policies, and decisions inflicted by corrupt and misguided leadership. Many times, Flint has risen like a phoenix from the ashes. Unfortunately, the toll that draconian COVID policies have taken on our city and county has hit an all-time limit. Our children's schools and businesses have been devastated. Whether suggestions, directives, requirements, mandates come from the governor, the MDHSS, or presently Dr. Hackert, the result is all the same. Parents are being instructed to cover up their child's face up to their eyeballs and muzzle their breathing and speaking capabilities. And if you don't like it, don't come to school. Teach them yourselves or let them teach themselves online. The clear message is being sent to our children is, if you don't cover your face and vaccinate with the shot, you are not a humanitarian and you do not care for your fellow man. This dysfunctional track that keeps playing on a loop needs to be disrupted and corrected. Let me be clear, parents want to make the decisions for our children. I want to leave the board in the room with a couple of definitions out of the dictionary. Tyranny, cruel, unreasonable, and arbitrary use of control or power. Parenting, the process of promoting, supporting the physical, emotional, social, financial, and intellectual development of a child from infancy to adulthood.
Thank you.
Good morning. I address the board in a different realm today.
Your name and city, please.
Yes, I'm sorry. Jennifer Isaac, Fenton, Michigan. I pray for each and every one of you. I pray that his glorious riches may strengthen you with power through his spirit in your inner being, so that Christ may dwell in your hearts through faith. I pray that you, being rooted and established in love, may have power together with all of the Holy Spirit to grasp how wide and how long and how deep the love of Christ is, and to know that this love that surpasses the knowledge, that you may be filled to measure with all of the fullness of God. Now to him who is able to do immeasurably more than we can ask, think, or imagine, according to his power, that at the work within us, to him be the glory in the church and in Jesus Christ. I ask you, every soul needs some healing today. Everybody that's in here is hurt. Everybody has been affected by this on one side or the other. Everyone has baggage. There's people here in line that I've heard for the last 2 meetings. My heart goes out to them. We do not fight the same fight. We're all in the same boat. We all have different boats in this ocean, in this storm. And I apologize for any crude behavior on my behalf in the past, speaking harshly to the people. God has put you in power. And Dr. Hackert, I pray that you make the right decision for both sides of the county.
Thank you.
Good morning. Thank you, Commissioners. My name is Debbie Zofko, Clio, Michigan. The truth is, the masks are a failure and the vaccines are a failure, yet here we are. You are doubling down and forcing the masking of our children who are not at risk. You are inducing psychological harm, period. Israel, one of the most highly vaccinated countries, is now starting its 3rd dose. Why? Because the first 2 haven't worked. Some think it could be up to 5 shots. Where will that stop? Will it just be 5? Could it be more? Iceland's top epidemiologist admits the vaccination is not achieving herd immunity, and the truth is it never will. The whole idea of herd immunity via vaccines was stolen by the pharmaceutical industry and its patsies. True herd immunity is acquired when a large percentage of the population has had natural infection, not vaccination. Stop hurting our kids, stop doubling down, and do the right thing.
My name is Ken Stewart. I'm from Gaines. The question here is the doctor doing the right thing? We have the opportunity because in Tennessee, they've already done this for us. They went, put in an anti-mask law. Since August 6th, when the schools opened, there's a 324% increase in COVID in children. 20% of the kids in school have COVID. My niece lost 10 days already in school, and it's not even out of August yet. There is no question here. We have to do something to stop this, because a lot of people seem to think it's over. I just heard somebody say, well, more people died from flu. Well, you know what? I don't think so. I don't think it's anywhere close to being over. We are in the beginning of this, and we need to do something to stop it, not something to play games with it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Chelsea Brown, and I am from Flint. Can y'all hear me?
Come on.
Can y'all hear me good?
Yes,
So my name is
go ahead.
Chelsea Brown, and I'm from Flint. And I understand people don't want to wear masks. They think their kids have asthma. My son has asthma. He wears masks every day when he's out in public, and he has no fine. I have talked to a retired teacher. She wants our children to wear masks. She's like, they might have snotty nose, but that's what the school is there for washing hands and changing their masks and make sure they have clean masks every day, where someone was saying that the kids' mask was dirty, but that's what the school is for, to provide them some clean masks. And secondly, yes, I am behind Dr. Hackert for having mandate, because if you see Heartland School Community just shut their schools down because they did not have masks, and anyone that's in this room behind us that don't want masks, they can look it up. They just shut their school down for the kids not having masks due to the spread of the COVID. Thank you, and now my son, he wants to speak. Unfortunately, he has his own 2 minutes, and I have to ask him the question so he can answer for you, and he is nervous. He just turned 9 today.
Thank you.
Wear masks?
Just when we don't start at schools, people.
Come on, you only got 2 minutes, you gotta hurry.
When we don't start at schools, when somebody have COVID, we just put on side a mask and they can go home and stay home and figure.
Okay, so do you want to wear school a mask in school? Why you want to wear a mask in school? Just tell them, you have to talk to them. Why you want to wear a mask in school? You don't have to cry. Pardon?
Okay, Josie.
This child is nervous. They shouldn't be saying anything.
Do you want to wear a mask in school?
Yeah,
Just tell them, I want to wear my mask in school.
apparently he doesn't want to do it.
Mask to school?
No, he does. He's nervous. And just
Yeah.
because he's hearing a happen, just said he want to wear his mask.
Okay, but we've got to move on.
Just said he's nervous because of the heckling that he's hearing.
My name is Sarah Harris. I'm from Davison, Michigan. I am not in favor of the mask mandate. I am in favor of having a choice. Life is about choices. I hear many of those in favor of the mask mandate stating that those against the mandate don't care about others. I can tell you that's a lie. We are in favor of you and your children choosing to wear a mask if that's what is medically right for your family. But stop thinking that is right for you is right for all. For many, wearing a mask is more harmful than catching COVID. I'm blown away by the remarks that we don't care about saving lives, yet you know of all the kids with health issues and who are suicidal from masks, yet you don't care about their lives because you're so scared about yours under your own mask. And no, most can't get a medical mask waiver because our doctors are too scared to sign them. We're about you making the medical choice to wear one. How about you care about us making the medical choice to not wear one? There is nothing in the medical field that is a one-size-fits-all. If the mask works so well, then why do people have to quarantine? If everyone's wearing a mask, no one should catch COVID. Stop the nonsense and stop harming our children. No one makes medical decisions for my children but my husband and I, the parents.
Okay, before we proceed, the lady in the blonde hair at the back of the line will be the last speaker. Yes.
Why? I would like an opinion from corporate counsel that we could shut off public comment.
We don't have a quorum, Sean. This is not an official meeting.
Well, here's my question. I'd like corporate counsel to rule on this.
I actually happen to have some law right here that says, by definition, a gathering of less than a quorum of a public body general does not constitute a meeting within the meaning of the OMA and need not comply.
I couldn't hear anything you said. I apologize.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
So I've been given some law. By definition, a gathering of less than a quorum of a public body general does not constitute a meeting within the meaning of the OMA and need not comply with the requirements set forth in the OMA.
Okay. No. Look, I extended the courtesy of even having this open forum. Okay, we were here this morning to have a discussion with Dr. Hackert. We did not want the public address session to take up the majority of the time. We want to get on with the business at hand, and that's the question and answer with Dr. Hackert. You were here this morning. The special meeting was called so that we could have an open discussion, questions, your questions and your concerns addressed to Dr. Hackert. So we're not going to spend the rest of the morning listening, to your comments, period. That's right. And I'm working right now. Hey, go ahead, Richard. All right, we'll shut it down now.
No, don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that.
Are we going to be able to ask Dr. Hackert questions?
The questions will be levied by Commissioner Shoemaker and Commissioner Davis. No questions from the audience.
My name is Richard Jones. I'm a resident of the city of Flint. I've been really thinking about this since last Monday. And I think the Board of Commissioners need to help bridge this gap with the problem. And y'all may have to go in y'all pockets real deep to solve this. And what I'm asking for is that y'all put some kind of shield up to where all of the classroom desks, then they gotta be sanitized after every class. And then maybe we can get these people to compromise and just have their kids wear the masks in between classes. It's gonna cost money because you're gonna have to put those glass, just like they do on the MTA bus. Every time the bus is empty, before anybody else is able to get on that bus, they get on there and they disinfect it. That's about the only solution I can see to where maybe y'all can get some of these people to calm down, because The mask being worn in school, and I got one on right now, and I can't wait till I get done speaking to go out there and take it off. So I know what they're going through. The biggest argument I had with Sister Muhammad's grandson was about a mask. And I understand it. It's very uncomfortable. I sneeze when I put on the blue mask, like I have that on for like 30 seconds and I'm sneezing. So I know about the problems. But once again, it's better safe than sorry. Our numbers are going up as we are speaking here today. We cannot ignore that fact. It's too many unknowns when it comes to this coronavirus. But once again, it's better safe than sorry. Now, a lot of these kids are going home to households.
Wrap up, Richard.
Okay, a lot of these kids are going home to households that has coronavirus in it, and then they're bringing it back to the school. It's just a whole lot. Wear your mask, please. And y'all think about putting them shields up. It's gonna cost y'all a lot of money, but our lives are worth it.
Good morning, Stuart Sherry, City of Grand Blanc, and I do want to thank the commissioners for allowing this meeting. I do understand, according to parliamentary law, that without a quorum, you could choose to do what you wish, so I appreciate you letting us be here. I would like to talk a little bit about public trust. I've talked to many people at the health department over the past year about public trust. My biggest problem is this is not just about a medical issue, right? You guys all wonder why people don't want to wear masks, why we're adamantly against it. We don't trust you. We don't trust you. They're not out there, like we have some elected officials that are out there with community events, explaining what's going on. Where is our Genesee County Health Department? They're not out in the community. They basically said on August 11th to all school superintendents, you can choose what you want to do with your school for the fall. On August 11th at 4 o'clock, confirmed in their weekly meeting with superintendents. Everybody, whether you go on the side of masks or not, should care that on August 12th, less than 24 hours later, a mask mandate was issued. Why not work with the superintendents? Why not the 3 weeks from July 30th when this was already started? Start telling superintendents, hey, we're gonna probably make a change. We need you to help work with us. We need to help get the community engaged. We need to provide evidence. We need to get out there and explain to people why this is important if you think it's so important. Instead of just changing your mind and having a press conference in this room with no public, nobody from the public was involved. Even the schools weren't involved. I don't care if you're on the side of masks or not. How can you just arbitrarily tell schools everything's gonna be fine and then 24 hours later change your mind? I don't understand that, and I would like to have an answer for that.
Hello, my name is Terry Kaywood. I'm from Flint. I would like to read you the definition of industrial hygienist. They are engineers and scientists who protect the safety and health of people in the workforce to ensure that the state and federal regulations are followed. So what they do is they go into hospitals and doctors' offices and they train nurses and doctors on what PPE to wear, according to the environment, what disease they're treating, whatever. So my question is, Dr. Hackert is an occupational health specialist who worked with industrial hygienists, which say that masks are so bad for children. If you touch your mask, you're supposed to throw it away. There's so many things that you're supposed to do. Like when a doctor gets done with his mask, he don't go to the next person and, you don't do that. You have to change it every 20 minutes. So I'm just not understanding, does she not really care about our children? Because she worked with industrial hygienists. So I just want to know what the answer is here. Why did she try to mask up our kids? Thank you.
Is this mic on? Does this one work? Awesome. Okay. Lindsay Spiewak from Davison. Newsflash, the virus isn't going anywhere. We need to learn to live with it. Never before in the history of our country has it been man's duty to protect other human beings. We are here today in honor of choice, the rights that we Americans have and are guaranteed to us in the Michigan State Constitution and the United States Constitution. We aren't looking to take the masks away from those that want to wear them. And for those that are wearing them, they shouldn't be worried about others who are not. They are protected in wearing their mask, correct? My daughter wrote a suicide note last year after feeling disconnected to students in her class because of the masks. What if she had followed through on her suicide and took her life? Her life may not matter to you, Dr. Hackert, but it matters to me, and it is my duty to protect my child. Dr. Hackert, your mask mandate puts my child in harm's way. I'm asking you to allow the parents to decide whether they want it to be a virus that they are afraid of or the consequences of wearing a mask long term. This one-size-fits-all does not work. We are asking you to please honor the constitutional rights of the parents and allow us to have the choice. The American Academy of Pediatrics is committed to the physical, mental, and social health and well-being of children. Doctors in Genesee County are refusing to write medical mask waivers. I wonder why. Does Dr. McCummel have anything to do with that? Dr. Hackert, for those of us that want the freedom to choose, you're forcing this on us against our state constitutional right. I have an attorney who will draw up a contract that says if you force our children to wear a mask, we will ultimately hold you responsible for the physical, mental, and social health and well-being of our children. If anything happens, we get to hold you responsible for their medical needs, counseling needs, and any other issue that arise from wearing a mask. Because you believe this is such a good thing, you should have no problem signing those legal contracts. And if you refuse to sign it, then that'll serve as their medical mask waiver. I want you to notice something. There's 13 rows in this room. 3 of them are filled with those pro-maskers. The other 10
seconds.
The other 10 with those that want freedom of choice. I pray you choose freedom of choice.
My name is Amber DeShone. I live in Gaines. We go to school in Linden. Today, this is the 3rd time that I've stood at this microphone. I feel defeated. I feel like my voice no longer matters, but I'm not done fighting. I have never seen a group care so little about others while they scream in my face, "Love thy neighbor." It is clear they only love thy neighbor if you're masked and vaxxed. Do not love your neighbor if they have a disability that makes wearing masks difficult, or if a parent's trying to do everything in their power to keep their child safe. Don't love your neighbor if their child had suicidal thoughts or depressions, or even if they just disagree. My son has been in school for 5 days. It was 100 degrees last week. 3 of our buildings lost power. Children were not allowed to remove masks. They were released early. However, students were on the bus for over 2 hours, unable to remove their mask on a 100-degree day. Neurodivergent kids are supposed to be exempt. However, doctors are not signing medical exemptions in fear of liability, not COVID. Schools are not honoring IEPs. Teachers are segregating classes with students who aren't wearing masks. Buses refuse to transport, and the 6th graders are being brutally bullied by the 7th and 8th graders. But you all knew this would happen, and you have shown you don't really care. So I offer a solution, since the only thing I've heard is to segregate the schools. Use some of the money from the American Rescue Plan for these better ventilation in these schools, which has been proven to help. Mask teachers, since their age group is more affected than 12 and under. Stop pretending this is about kids and make the people this virus affects wear a mask. If your child is in school and you're worried they'll pass it to family, then don't see that family. Wear a mask around that family. Social distance. Have them get vaccinated. You get vaccinated. Take precautions with your own family. Not my child's responsibility to care about your family. He should go to school to learn. That's it.
10 seconds.
Allow schools to decide their mask policies based on cases in the area. My town has only seen 300 cases since the start of this pandemic. That's 1%. Thank you.
Okay, before this next speaker speaks, I have been shown some terrible disrespect for what I ruled on earlier. At this point, the lady in the red t-shirt on the right will be the last speaker. Others have gotten in line after I made my declaration. So the lady in the red t-shirt will be the last speaker.
There's a lot of red t-shirts out there.
Well, I know who it is, so go ahead.
My name's Valerie Sylvester. I'm a resident of Linden. I'm also a registered nurse at a Flint hospital, and I substitute teach in Linden. I've seen a lot with COVID in the hospital, and I've seen the effects of masks on our kids in the schools. When COVID cases go up or down, it has nothing to do with masks. If anything, I believe it makes it worse. We've got billions of filthy rags floating around America, spreading disease and germs. How absurd that we stand here today begging for the right to breathe free air. Masks give the illusion of control. People want to do something. There's a lot of virtue signalers here today. The thing with these virtue signalers and your mask, us having a choice to wear a mask doesn't take away your choice to wear one. There's people up here talking about respect. The ultimate form of respect is respecting one another's free choice. I see an MLive reporter here today. I saw after the last meeting, he reported that the anti-maskers were obnoxious. I think we've seen quite a bit of evidence of the other side of that today, and I hope you report accurately today. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Sandy Jobin. I was here last week. I did not want to be in this fight. I have a son that I take care of 24/7. He has muscular dystrophy. I've dealt with masks for the last 20 years because he's been on ventilation. Or not ventilation, what do you call it? Anyways, like a breathing machine. The mask that he has to wear has vents in it in order for carbon dioxide to not build back up and then poison him. One question. Has COVID-19 been isolated to prove that it even exists? Another question, and I don't know who I'm addressing these to, or nobody has to answer to them, or what? Does anybody have to answer? No. Okay, got it. Okay, how about the box for the mask? You read them from the manufacturer itself that says it does not stop COVID-19 or any of the rest of the viruses? Nobody's ever read that either? I'm just here to tell you the damage that you're doing to these people is turning. And you better figure out what line you're on because it's coming, and figure out what side you're on because Nuremberg still exists.
Hi, my name is Jamie Dobbs, and I live in Burton, Michigan. The reason Dr. Hackert is getting so much pushback from the recent K-6 mandate is simply because we don't trust her. There has been zero transparency with her and the public in the events leading up to and since this mandate has been announced. Under no circumstances is there any excuse for not attending the meeting via Zoom last week. Public health orders are only allowed to be issued during an emergency. Where is the emergency? If there was truly an emergency, then why, just last week in downtown Flint, was it allowed to have a packed indoor event? I saw many elected officials who are in this room right now. They were not 6 feet apart and not wearing a mask. The hypocrisy is never ending. I am aware that any kind of medical decisions are lawfully based on informed consent. That is what medical freedom is and should be. Dr. Hackert has provided zero evidence or data to prove the efficacy of masks. She gave a computer-generated model as her proof masks work, not double-blinded, randomized, and not peer-reviewed. We are fed up with the government bureaucrats that are dictating mandates on us with absolutely zero science and data to back it up. Children and people are dying. Is it because the treatment protocols are being hidden by the government? We are in a dangerous situation where governments and big tech collude to silence licensed medical professionals in order to increase the profits of large pharmaceutical corporations. Warning signs censored, side effects censored, doctors censored, scientific data censored. Millions of Americans across the nation are standing up to these big bad government's bureaucrats. This is your sign to listen to us. Do not come for our children. We do not answer to you. Your authority comes from God, and you have crossed the line.
My name is Carly Lamb. I am a resident of Clio in Genesee County. I am appalled at the blatant disregard of the leaders to listen to the opposing constituents. It is astonishing you are able to disregard the mental health crisis given the testimonies of several mothers whose children contemplated suicide last year. These mandates and guidelines are inflicting more damage on our children than any virus could ever do. You claim you care for us, but the majority of you turn down every motion for a resolution or even a simple discussion for that matter to this never-ending nightmare. What is the end point? Why we're back to the bricks and the crim still allowed, if there is still such an uptake in cases? And please, somebody answer me, why is the border still open? The devil and his followers have created hysteria, so we will be afraid and fearful. God does not teach us to be fearful. He teaches us to be fearless. The devil has turned us against each other, from Republican versus Democrat, mask versus no mask, vaccine versus no vaccine, black versus white, good cop versus bad cop. God did not teach us to hate, discriminate, or segregate. It's disheartening that the simple discussion of masks and vaccines has divided so many friends and family members. How many grandparents received the vaccine because their children threatened they would not be able to see their grandchildren? The golden rule, Matthew 7, verse 12. So in everything, do to others what you would have them do to you, for this sums up the law and the prophets. How fearful are you? Have you conformed to mask wearing, social distancing, or the experimental vaccine? Stay at home, stay safe, stay 6 feet apart. It's for your safety because I care. It's for the safety of others. It's your patriotic duty are all a psyop to instill fear. Acts 5, verse 29. We ought to obey God rather than man. Again, the devil needs absolute power to dominate, transform, and control every aspect of our lives. We need to rise as a nation and take our God-given rights back. We need family and
10
friends.
seconds.
We need every race. We need every color to embrace all mankind. We need to see each other's facial expressions, and we need handshakes. God has given us all the armor we need, the whole Bible, his word. Every word of God is pure. He is a shield unto them that put their trust in him.
Time is up, ma'am.
My name is Rick Christofek. I'm an ER nurse, been a nurse for 24 years. I know what COVID is. I've seen COVID. I know what it does. I know how it affects people. I also know how a mask can affect a child. We're talking about saving our child's mental well-being. We're talking about our future. It's about our children's future and ours as well. I don't think there's a grandmother or grandfather that wants to go ahead and see their child being affected negatively because they've been facially excluded from seeing verbal cues, things that they need to learn from each other, peers, their peers, understanding what's going on between themselves and others. That's a developmental issue that needs to be understood and addressed, but it isn't, because we're all dealing with fear. It's about fear. And they say they're not going to go ahead and stop this mask issue until the kid gets a shot. A 5-year-old's going to get this shot. I know what this shot does. I've seen what this shot does. It makes you sick. You're not ill now. 5 years from now, we're still in an experimental phase. We've already had 16,000 people die. 16,000 people have died from these shots. What is it going to take for us all as Americans to wake up and see that we're being killed purposely? That's what's going on here. Our children are going to be at stake. Where is our future? It's not with this mask. It's not with fear. It's not with running behind the government, thinking that they're going to protect us, because they're not. They're not protecting us. 4 have died from the flu. Children have died in 2019. 4. How many have died from COVID? In this state, how many? 4. Why weren't they wearing a mask then? Why weren't they wearing a mask then? They're protected. Those children may
Time is up,
express
sir.
it. You people got to learn to wake up. Wake up and see what's really going on here.
Hello. My name is Elizabeth Armstrong. I'm from Linden, Michigan, and I am the mother of 7 children. I come from a long line of military service. My husband, my father, my 2 uncles, my great uncle, and my grandfather fought for our freedom and constitutional rights by proudly serving in the military. My husband missed years of our children's lives, holidays, birthdays, first steps, first words, and medical emergencies, just to name a few. I held my children alone when they missed their father and cried themselves to sleep, knowing his and our family's sacrifices meant so much to so many in this beautiful country. He cannot go back and get these moments with his children because what he was doing during those moments was securing our freedom. This latest mandate is not a political issue. It's a United States constitutional issue, specifically in reference to the 9th Amendment, and it is also an ADA issue, preventing the deaf from being able to easily communicate, those that have neurodivergent specific disabilities from easily getting exemptions, and in some cases is resulting in those students not receiving a free and appropriate education as is required by the law. That is referred to as FAPE. We are being told to sacrifice the liberties of all for the opinions of some. As you sit here today, I ask you to think about the freedom you have to be able to form the opinions you have today. And remember, that freedom came with a very heavy cost, with others paying the price.
Chelsea Fisher, Grand Blanc Township. I urge all the officials here at the Health Department, especially Mrs. Hackert, to join my son and his entire school body as they are being forced to wear a mask for 6 to 7 hours a day. Please join them in suffering through the school temperatures at his school that reach over 80 degrees with about 80% humidity. That's an extreme caution to heat index with the range over 100. If you are making these young kids do this, then you should be more than happy to join them. As a parent of students in the Grand Blanc School District, I do not consent to the most recent order issued by the Genesee County Health Department. Has the Health Department made sure that each school in the county has adequate HVAC systems installed with proper ventilation to accommodate the classroom sizes to allow for proper airflow exchanges? My son's school, McGrath, does not have an HVAC unit installed, allowing for proper temperature control and forced airflow. There are 3 schools within the district that do not have air conditioning. These HVAC systems are more important than just providing cool air, but also to regulate humidity and provide air filtration. On a normal school day, my son would come home and his face would be red. He would be sweating and complaining of a headache due to overheating. This is not an environment to force a child to wear a mask in. How can you subject these young children to this environment? This decision is both reckless and extremely dangerous. Do you know what materials the most common masks are made of? Non-surgical masks are composed of toxic, carcinogenic microplastics. Who would be liable for the dangerous health complications that could arise in these children from inhaling these carcinogens? These mask ingredients include, but are not limited to, polypropylene, polystyrene, polycarbonate, polyethylene, and polyester. Once inhaled, these tiny particles penetrate deep into the lungs, where they may induce lesions in the respiratory systems.
10
The
seconds.
smallest particles can pass into the bloodstream and cause cardiovascular and cerebrovascular diseases, induce cancer, and affect the human immune and nervous systems. Masks have profoundly affected our society. Our children deserve better.
Thank you. My name is Amy Fascinello, and I'm from Grand Blanc. And we've heard a lot about division today, and my message is, what is the root of the problem, and why are we seeing this rotten fruit? Throughout history, we've always had this power structure going on. We put some human at the top of the pyramid that thinks he's better than everybody else. And then we support this power, unjust power structure with officials, nobles, and priests. And then if that doesn't work, we got soldiers then to arrest people. You know what this has gotten us throughout history? All right, Nebuchadnezzar, dead people. With Pharaoh, they went and killed all the kids. All right? You have Jesus Christ, again, slaughter of the innocents. This structure doesn't work. In 1776, we decided we're going to try something different. We decided that this statement in the Bible where it says, and had made us kings and priests unto God and his Father, and to him be glory and dominion forever and ever. With that structure, since we're kings and priests, we're at the top of the pyramid. All right? The elected officials serve us. We don't call them elected officials. They are public servants, humbled by the Spirit and serving the people. This structure requires love of seeing your brother as an equal. When you don't see your brother as an equal and a fellow king and priest, you end up with a power structure of a darkened heart that looks like this, where the government is oppressive and you have elected officials imposing unjust dominion
Time is
over
up, ma'am.
others.
April Delore, Grand Blanc Township. You, Dr. Hackert, are in a position of leadership, and great leadership is not about leading others, it's how you lead yourself. And you'll never be able to lead yourself if you lie to yourself. The person we are behind closed doors is who we are in the public eye. Your pride and ego is standing in the way of making decisions based on the concerns of every parent of Genesee County. According to the American Institute for Economic Research.org, this virus has a fatality rate of 0.05 in people 70 years and younger, which compares quite well to most flu viruses that happen every year when school starts up, yet we never do anything about it. Also, children naturally have the capability of evading the virus due to lack of ACE2 receptors in their nostrils. Studies show after 20 minutes, masks do not function due to saturation. I'm an early childhood education expert. I've seen it daily. They need to be dry to function. As soon as they become saturated with the moisture in your breath, they stop doing their job and pass on the droplets, said professor of infectious disease at University of Sydney. Re-wearing a mask, which is very common among children, is riskier than no mask at all. Let's take the homeless population. Nobody's talking about that. Mental health reported April through October of 2020 for children 5 to 11 years old increased by 25%, and ages 12 to 17, 31%. During June of 2020, 25% ages 18 to 24 in the U.S. reported suicidal ideation. It is suspected it is largely a function of our response to the pandemic. One of the most troubling observations comes from one of the group's top neurologists and neurophysiologists focused on neurotoxicology. The rebreathing of our
Ma'am, your
exhaled
time is up.
air will, without a doubt, create oxygen deficiency and a flooding of carbon dioxide.
Tanya Prim, Richfield Township. I thank a previous person for talking about industrial hygienists because I can skip that part about how they're qualified and talk to you about some specific information from a highly qualified, credentialed, and certified expert with decades of experience. His name is Stephen Petty. He analyzed an important study by Drunick and others, which addressed specifically that masks being worn by the general public have an inevitable loss of effectiveness because they are not sealed to the face. Petty concluded, based on that study and his analysis of it, that gaps in mask fit, amounting to a mere 3% of the mask area, render the mask completely useless. 0% effective, no matter how effective it was initially. It will be 0% effective if there is as much as 3% gaps in the mask. So it is doing nothing. In addition to that, I haven't heard this addressed yet. Masks are only emergency use authorized. The health director cannot mandate on the entire population or any segment of the population something that is only emergency use authorized. Why is it emergency use authorized? Because it doesn't stop viruses. So, Dr. Hackert, no, you as the commissioners, and thank you for some of you being here, and the rest of them who are not here need to know that when they allow Dr. Hackert to make and enforce policies based on her misinterpretation of health code and allow her to claim expertise in an area that she does not possess
10 seconds.
expertise, you are, it's a dereliction of your duty to this county to allow her to do that.
My name is Christine Reluga, and I'm coming from Fenton, and I did not expect to be up here today, and I'll try to make this short and sweet. Okay. I'd like to know how an unelected official has the right to decree the mask mandate. And if she's a doctor, why hasn't she confirmed with other doctors in regards to the cure for the virus? I mean, there's Dr. Emmanuel, there is Dr. Tenpenny, who have supported the use of the pack, I'm so nervous, hydromectin pack, and also the use of ivermectin. I mean, there are other alternatives. You know, these are all government-sponsored, Pfizer, all pharmaceutical company cures that they are making a big profit off of. So that's something to consider. I think you should look into the alternative medicines that have proved to be very effective. Even the one that Dr. Fauci supports, which is, it causes kidney problems. Remdesivir. That causes kidney problems. Okay? But yet Regeneron is what President Trump had. So why don't we have access to these pharmaceuticals? That's all I'd like to know.
My name is Jamie Gildner, and I am from Davison. This is my third time up here speaking. The first time I was angry. The second time I tried to give my story. And so this time I'm going to go visual. These are kids in a classroom learning. This is not okay, but this is, and this is. She broke an order that was put out. She said she was sorry. I sent my kid to school without a mask, and I got an email saying that they were going to report me to the health department. I'm sorry. Make it all better? This is my son and his best friend going into school. This is okay. They hang out regularly, but as soon as they walk into the building, it's no longer okay. This is my son and our neighbor and his other best friend playing video games, sitting next to each other unmasked. This is okay, but as soon as they walk into the building, it's no longer okay. This is my daughter and two of her friends, my nephew and my niece. One of them is in daycare, one of them is in kindergarten, and three of them are in 7th grade. They can all be together right here, but yet when one of them goes to school, they have to be masked. That doesn't make sense. Surgical masks are disposable devices to cover the mouth and nose during medical procedures. Masks must be changed when they become wet with saliva or other bodily fluids as they lose their protective properties. Never reuse surgical masks. Wash hands thoroughly with soap and running water or use alcohol-based hand gel after handling. The average person touches their face 16 times an hour. Imagine how many times these kids are touching their mask. It's not sanitary and it's not helping.
10 seconds, ma'am.
Right here, this product, an ear loop mask, will not provide any protection against COVID-19 or any other viruses or contaminants.
Anna Bennett, Flint, Michigan. I would like to ask that when you can question Dr. Hackert on our behalf, that you ask about the use of titers, and actually seeing who has antibodies naturally from acquiring COVID, and also to ask why we are putting a new emphasis on masking in general, like the rule was changed to come into the building with a mask. This month, earlier in August, many doctors have found out that the vaccines actually weren't working, and that's why there was an even bigger push and why more masks have been forced, because the vaccine does not prevent against the Delta variant, which we knew was a possibility. It wasn't created for the Delta variant. And that's exactly why most of us believe that we don't want to vaccinate, we don't believe in masks, because we think that everybody has to get it. This pandemic cannot last forever. Colds didn't go away. The flu didn't go away. It's going to mutate. I'm against all mandates, and we need freedom of choice, and I support our amendments, especially the 14th Amendment.
My name is Holger Spiewak, Davis, Michigan. John 8:32 says, "And ye shall know the truth, and the truth shall make you free." In Ephesians 6:12, it says, "And we wrestle not against flesh and blood, but against principalities, against powers, against the rulers of darkness of this world, against spiritual wickedness in high places." Here's something to think about. If you go to the southwest desert and catch 100 red fire ants as well as 100 large black ants and put them in a jar, at first nothing will happen. However, if you violently shake the jar and dump it on the ground, the ants will fight until they eventually kill each other. The thing is, the red ants think the black ants are the enemy, and the black ants think the red ants are the enemy, when in reality, the enemy is the person who shook the jar. This is exactly what's happening in society today. Liberal versus conservatives, black versus white, pro-mask versus anti-mask. The real question we need to be asking ourselves is who was shaking the jar and why? I propose an answer. Everybody here, I hope you realize that 25% of the current supply of money was generated in the last 12 months. That means, in effective, our financial system has stolen 25% of everybody's money. No matter if you're black, white, mask, no mask, Republican, Democrat, Christian, atheist, it doesn't matter. Guess what? If somebody steals 25% of everybody's money, what do you think they need to do? They need to make you fight against each other so you don't see the scam that they're pulling behind the scenes. Check into that.
Good morning. My name's Julie Coster. I was here last week. I also sent you guys some emails. I'm sorry that we're wasting your time. I am. I'm here today to add my voice. I'm from Richfield Township, by the way. Here to add my voice to the voice of many students, parents, and grandparents of students throughout this county who've decided it's time to make our usually quiet, reserved voices heard. Most important to this situation, I have 2 grandchildren in the Swartz Creek School District. I did not want to be in this fight either, but here I find myself while my single daughter is at work, working 2 jobs trying to get through this. This is not about beliefs and feelings. The simple fact is we don't have any long-term evidence that long-term masking is not hazardous to our children. And in absence of that, we must refrain from requiring their mandatory use. It's impossible to do due diligence and have informed consent, which is required when we do not have long-term studies. There's no law that mandates this. In fact, our legislative body in Michigan removed our governor's powers to do just that. If our schools refuse education to any child based on a mandate that is illegal, I don't consent. It's illegal. The revised Michigan School Code, Section 1307B, item letter H, statement of prohibitive practices states that any restraint that negatively impacts breathing is prohibited in our schools. And further, Michigan Law Code MCL 333.2433 prohibits the implementation of a mandate that is otherwise prohibited by law. It is illegal to force a mask, and it's illegal for you to deny their education. Our family is prepared to send a cease and desist letter to the Swartz Creek School District, including administrators and teachers in this regard. I will remind the board that I was only following orders has never been a legal defense for committing a crime. Each citizen is
10
responsible
seconds.
for knowing the law and following the law. We need to use environmental experts, industrial hygienists, not our feelings and beliefs. This is based on bad science.
Your time is up.
I'm John Coster from Richfield Township. I'm not here to play on your emotions or tell you any heart-wrenching stories about somebody who suffered from COVID. I'm here to talk about the science. It's a buzzword these days. I believe in the science. Well, I don't just believe in the science. I'm a scientist. And I'm highly trained in respiratory protection. I'm a United States Army veteran where I learned how to use and maintain a gas mask. I went to college and earned a bachelor's degree with a bachelor's of science degree with a major in biology, concentration in cellular molecular biology, minor in chemistry. After completing college, I went to work as an industrial hygienist. I worked in the asbestos industry where I had to become certified through the state as an asbestos contractor. Part of my training was respiratory protection. While working that job, I became inspired to become a teacher and taught biology, chemistry, zoology, physical science for 22 years. I'm currently now retired. I'm here to tell you these masks don't work. If you put a mask on and it fogs your glasses up, that's water vapor and water droplets escaping from your mask. It's definite proof the mask is leaking. Okay, the masks don't seal. So air, when you breathe out, is forced air. It takes the path of least resistance. It's not going to go through the cloth that you can see through. It's going to go through the leaks. If you're fogging your glasses up, that's pure proof that your mask is not protecting you. So what's the danger in wearing a mask? You've heard other people talk about what it does to the wearer, but what you're not considering is the social aspects. People put a mask on, they feel like they've got this suit of armor on, and they forget all the other protocols that are important in preventing the spread of this disease. Proof of that is a year ago, I would go into the grocery store, whatever, everybody was wearing a mask, but yet the report was that the disease was spreading like wildfire. It doesn't work, and people think that the mask works, but it doesn't, and they don't follow proper protocols. Keep your kids home if they're sick. Wash your hands. Wipe off surfaces. This one's filthy. Wipe this off.
Go ahead, ma'am.
My name is Jill Roner. I'm from Gaines, Michigan. Remember 2 weeks to flatten the curve? I don't know about you all, but it's been a long 2 weeks. As parents, it is our responsibility to provide for the health and well-being of our children. Dr. Hackert's overreaching mandates infringe on our rights as parents to care for our children in the manner we feel is best for them. We all know no two children are alike. Thus, there is no single remedy for this type of situation. Giving parents the choice to mask or not mask is the best solution. Those wearing a mask will be protected in a manner they feel comfortable, likewise for those not wearing masks. There's plenty of science to support the negative impact of masking for such long lengths of time. These masks were never made to be used for these extended time frames. Has anyone considered our children's mental health? Unnecessary worry, fear, and anxiety? Will I get in trouble for drinking my water? I need fresh air. Will I be sent to the principal's office? for a mask break, all taking away from their ability to focus and learn. That is the reason they're in school. Masked children have been in school buildings and on buses without air conditioning while it was 90 degrees. Why are children expected to jump through hoops for basic necessities such as breathing, fresh air, and drinking water? Do you realize there are not even water fountains open in these school buildings? These kids don't have access to fresh air and water. This is a very scary fact, and I believe it's only the beginning of what's going to be forced upon us if we do not stand up for our rights to make our own medical decisions. Thank you for your support, time, and representation of the people, to the commissioners who decided to be here today, and quit shaking the jar.
10 seconds.
Quit shaking the jar!
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for coming. Yes, I know I'm short. Thank you, everyone, for coming. First of all, the respect, I'm going to show it. I've got friends way back there, and they're blessed friends of mine. And I'm military, too. My father fought in the Korean and the Vietnam War. I lived in Scotland. We had to get vaccinated to go to Scotland. I had so many vaccinations, I'm sure my hair should be green. What I am telling you is, even on this side, I've shown respect. These are our babies. And my baby is 37 years old. And last year, his daughter, a 6-year-old, 5-year-old then, came home with COVID and gave it to my baby. I literally walked over with 2 masks on, gloves, everything, just so I could hug my baby at 37 years old. Because I thought for sure he was going to die. The only blessing he has is he doesn't smoke, he's never did drugs, and he's healthy. My 44-year-old son, who was against all of it, the COVID shots, the vaccines, he went and got the shot, the Johnson & Johnson, because he said, if that could take my brother down, it would kill him. I'm asking you guys to I can't pick a 1% child that I want to risk. Okay? We can't risk these guys. And I love everyone's kids. And there has to be a solution. And I really respect the fact that all of us have an opinion. Because in some countries, we don't have opinions. So God bless my friends in the back, and you know who you are. And God bless my new friends and my friends in the front. And thank you guys for listening.
Ma'am.
My 10 seconds is to say thank you and thank you.
Kelly Anspaugh, Linden. 2,330 deaths per day. That is equivalent to 1 death every 36 seconds. Those statistics are mind-boggling. Yet we aren't here today talking about heart disease or the fact that according to the CDC, childhood obesity affects 14.4 million children. Why isn't the CDC mandated that doctors send obese children to a nutritionist or push that these children get more gym time or activities? Because it's not about health. It never has been. 20% COVID positive coming across your border daily should assure you of that. Your rights and freedoms are being taken from you. They're making your parental decisions. And that's not it. A few short months ago, you had the right to your private medical history. HIPAA, introduced in 1996, implemented to protect you and allow you to have your history kept private. Over the past 25 years in the medical field, I have seen the importance of HIPAA. It no longer exists. You are now forced to tell the world, or you cannot attend a major league sporting event, fly on certain airlines, eat at restaurants. Keep in mind it was considered an invasion of privacy for a registered sex offender to be offered to carry a card. How some of you are okay with this? You feel like it's just one small little thing. It starts small. Before you know it, you're North Korea. As of August 26, Hoboken schools in New Jersey mandated vaccinations for children 12 and over. You think this isn't coming our way if we just lay down with this? I'm constantly asking myself how more people are not in an uproar. This is the first step down a very slippery slope. When the government takes your rights, they do not just give them back. Too many men and women have sacrificed their lives for the rights and freedoms we have today, and I refuse to let that be in vain.
Commissioners, thank you for being here. You ask us to keep it short and sweet, so I will do so. My name is Ann Delisle. I am from Grand Blanc. We are asking very simply for our parental rights to make decisions for our children and our dependents. This month, the mandate is for masks. Soon, the mandate will move to a mandate of a so-called vaccine. This concern was escalated when this body voted 5-3 against a resolution to prohibit a vaccine mandate. Parents want a choice. Many teachers, my husband included, want and need a choice for themselves and their students. Scientists are deeply divided. Doctors are deeply divided. My personal physician and my son's pediatrician disagree with Dr. Hackert, and they do not believe the vaccine is for everyone, especially since we do not yet know the long-term effects. Lastly, as a resident of Grand Blanc Township, I am appalled that Chairman Mark Young is absent from today's special meeting. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Tabitha Ramberg, and I live in Linden. I wanted to ask Dr. Hackert and even this county, if you guys really care about kids and this mandate for the mask is about saving kids' lives, then why isn't Dr. Hackert ordering that this county give the children who have type 1 diabetes or type 2 diabetes free insulin since it's so cheap? Why aren't we giving kids EpiPen so they don't die from an allergic reaction? Not just Narcan and COVID shots and making the masking of healthy kids with almost 100% survival rate, not 99, 99.99. Where's the death clock on the news and the case count on the news since February? If the Delta is so bad, why is it not all over our news? A reporter on film was caught saying that the fear sells and that they need the higher ratings, and other journalists came forward saying they can't cover therapeutics like HCQ because their big pharma advertisements will be dropped. Dr. Robert Malone, the inventor of these mRNA vaccines, says they are not safe. The inventor said they're not safe. The CDC states that the efficacy and safety of the vaccines won't be completed until 2023. If a mask is needed to be mandated, then the federal government would have done it, not Dr. Hackert, who is acting like a dictator of Genesee County Health Department. Dr. Hackert lives in Ann Arbor, Washington County. There is a high-risk transmission there. No mask mandate is in her county. Why isn't she trying to force it in her county as a resident? If she was on the Ebola and H1N1 crisis response team, why didn't she require masks back then during Ebola and H1N1? Did they not work back then? How does Dr. Hackert feel about illegal immigrants from the southern border, which has been over 1.5 million so far in 2021, being shipped to Adrian, Alpena, and other parts of Michigan? Does she think it's a good idea to still be putting COVID-19 positive patients into nursing homes who are the most at risk?
10 seconds, ma'am.
We are at Linden Schools, and we happen to have an epidemiologist from U of M Ann Arbor who says our area is not impacted by high risk. Our school board wants choice. So we have this. Why not let our school boards make the choice, Dr. Hackert?
Thank you, Board of Commissioners. My name's Terry Cross. I'm from Davison Township. I'm here to speak in support of Dr. Hackert. I remember holding my newborn baby 33 years ago and thinking, I will protect you with my life. Now in this highly charged political climate, we have mothers protesting the protective wearing of masks that can save their child from a life-threatening variant and/or possibility of truncated school year due to contagion quarantine. The early days of pandemic hit Michigan unaware. Ignorance is no excuse with the current behavior playing out and the push against K-6 mask mandates. We have southern states to look to as a template of what not to do. As of August 11th, healthdata.gov, Texas has 259 total pediatric patients hospitalized with COVID, the most in the U.S. Florida followed with 194. These are our children. The variant is a game changer. While once we acted to protect grandma, now is the time to ensure the safety of our kids. Pediatricians are urging parents and families get vaccinated. Delta variant causes a rise in hospitalizations. With the start of the school year, things can only get worse. Delta variant spreads very easily. Classrooms are high-risk environments. COVID is a public health hazard. Politics means nothing when your child is sick. We have an opportunity and responsibility to learn foundational lesson of this pandemic. Everything we do affects others. The only way out is through. Mask up. Don't let a political party tell you that your children's lives aren't precious. 634,000
ma'am.
deaths. And I'm not an expert, but I've gotten less colds and flus since I'm wearing a mask.
Can I start now?
Yes, please.
Hi, my name is Angie Carr, and I wasn't going to speak today, but I have to let everyone know I'm an RN, so I do have a lot of experience, 11 years. I'm also a professional hairstylist and makeup artist, so a lot of my clients are doctors and nurses. I can tell you firsthand that doctors and nurses' hands are tied. They are not allowed to give preventative treatment, and they tell me this firsthand. Which is ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, steroids, aspirin. That is the treatment preventative protocol. All of these doctors know this, and everyone in here is well-meaning. I'm up here for the children and for adults. I am not the smartest person in here, but I know who to go to find out factual information. I go to pharmacists. This comes from a vaccine. This is a package insert. You can see it says intentionally blank on it. This should not be blank. This should have all of the information on it that we all look for when we're putting anything in our body, okay? This comes from a pharmacist that I ask, because again, I go to professionals because they are smarter than I am. This states on here that I got from a pharmacist that this is authorized. Emergency use only is not FDA approved. The potential risks are unknown. This is in the third trial, like the scientists in the MAD spoke, this is a trial program. I also want you to know that a friend of mine who works directly for the CDC in Georgia, they are not mandated to take any of these vaccines. This virus has not been isolated. You can fact check me on all of this. My voice is quivering because I care about the health of all people, children and adults, no matter what side you're
10
on.
seconds, ma'am.
I can also tell you that I looked up information about OSHA and masks. Certain masks, like the N95, are only meant for pollutants and aerosols.
Ma'am, your time is
Surgical
up.
masks are supposed to be changed every 20 minutes.
My name is Linda Suchu, and I'm from Burton. I'm a registered nurse and a psychiatric clinical nurse specialist. I have 2 bachelor's degrees, one in nursing and one in physiology, and a master's in psychiatric nursing. And I have certain expertise, but I also use and listen to people who have public health and infectious control expertise, like Dr. Fauci, for one. And I am pretty horrified and disgusted by the lies and the misinformation, the dangerous misinformation by political cowards and right-wing media denying truth and scientific evidence. Opinion is very different
Quiet,
from
please.
fact and evidence. If people hate wearing a mask so much, they should get vaccinated. I wish they would I just went to London and France, and in France they mandated vaccines for everyone in the country, which I think is great. I wish they'd mandate it here. And the only reason we're in this situation right now is, number one, Trump said, oh, it was a hoax. It was a hoax.
Hey, let's have some respect, please.
And then it was like it was not a problem. It was going to disappear in April of 2020. And now we have over 500,000 people have died from this virus. This virus is the enemy. So it's due to people refusing to get the vaccine. If everyone got vaccinated,
10 seconds, ma'am.
this virus mutates. I had the polio vaccine when I was a kid. I had the smallpox vaccine. Polio has been eliminated from this country and almost from
Ma'am,
the
your
world.
time is up.
Does this one work?
Yes, go ahead, ma'am.
Okay, that one I just take so you can hear me. I don't want to be close to anybody. My name is Doris Suchu. I live in Flint Township. I'm a physician. I have a graduate degree in public health. I was a teacher and social worker in the Flint schools, and I've been a physician for over 45 years. And I want to address, not to get God in this and whatever, I don't want to get in every other issue. I want to talk about what is the issue here about the masking and the virus. One of the things I experienced that I personally had is my sister died 3 months ago yesterday after having COVID, and I watched her gasp for air up to the very end. And a lot of people have seen that in the hospitals, particularly the medical people. The idea, someone mentioned herd immunity, because that kind of ties into this. One way to have herd immunity, according to some, is just let everybody, that was brought up actually in the previous administration, let everybody get infected. So you're going to get rid of the old, you're going to get rid of the vulnerable, you're going to get rid of anybody that is more likely poor. It'll affect certain groups of people more. And then when they all die off, you'll have herd immunity. But that isn't something that I would embrace. The freedom to not to wear a mask, I think there can be a freedom, although I know that means that this virus will continue to mutate and get worse, and we probably will have an endemic problem forever. But the freedom for people not to have to be exposed to people that they feel can hurt them, and that's based on science, is another freedom. And your freedom goes as far as the next person's nose. And as you hear in the legal issue, is that when you yell fire in a crowded theater, there's no fire, people get trampled to death, that goes against your freedom. You don't have that kind of freedom.
10 seconds, ma'am.
I just wanted to add that the masks do some reducing, and when anybody says 100% or 0%, that's usually never true.
Thank you.
Hi there, Stacy Masters of Clio. I just want to say, two ladies that support masks in front of me didn't seem to have a problem getting within a half an inch of my face to say something negative about every anti-masker that was at this podium. It seems like their points are only valid when they're pushing their narrative, and that's pretty common. Also, I just want to say, I observed today all the Dr. Hackert supporters here who were cheering and very happy that the rest of the room was going to be shut down and expressing their feelings. And I'm just hopeful that that's not something they're doing in the classrooms to our children. Again, the only thing I should have to say up here is to read the box of masks. It says that it's not, doesn't prevent the transmission of COVID. You guys oversee several county offices and employees. I know that you know what's going on in those offices. I hope you do, with the masking policies. The fortunate truth is that we no longer have to conduct ourselves with caution of the unknown. We've dealt with this for 17 months now, and we're aware. We are afforded the knowledge of reality. Let me tell you a little bit about my reality. I've been a public service for 17 years. In the past 17 months, I've dealt firsthand with 7,000 or 8,000 of your constituents, one-on-one, issuing absentee ballots, assuring voting rights and other job duties. Traveled to 3 countries, 14 states. I've never had COVID, tested constantly.
10 seconds, ma'am.
I just want to say I've raised 5 kids without co-parenting with politicians we're all healthy. Thank you for your time.
Hi, my name is Leah Davis from Swartz Creek. Masks, tests, and vaccines are all weapons of the deep state to control the people. All three are ineffective against the virus and are destroying our lives and liberties worse than the virus itself. This is a worldwide biochemical warfare tactic from the communist regime amongst us. They have infiltrated within our schools, universities, healthcare, entertainment, business, social media, and our very own government. And we are here to call it and them out. If you are not for American freedoms, then you are against Americans. As elected and appointed officials and even health professionals, you on the panel have all taken an oath of loyalty to your creed and to the Constitution of Michigan and the United States. You became public servants to hear and uphold the morals, values, and integrity of people in your districts and to abide by the law of the land. You are not here to enforce our medical safety. You are here to preserve and protect our medical liberty, autonomy, dignity, privacy, freedom of choice, and God-given rights. Surgical masks were made for nothing more than sanitary precautions during surgical procedures. They are not supposed to be used for viral control. N95 masks are better for this, however, still are not 100% due to poor and difficult fittings. The temperature and air pressure also must be considered for its effectiveness. You might as well just wear a gas mask and biohazard suit if you are that fearful about a 99.9 viral recovery rate. You are giving our children a sense of false security. It's truly cruel and unethical to pour this kind of illogical fear into the children of our society. They should be more focused on higher learnings, reasonings, and excellent things. Americans are a people of faith and are more apt to fear God himself than death from a virus.
10 seconds, ma'am.
Enforcing surgical masks is part of the problem and not the solution. It is absurd, unprofessional, and malpractice to promote and even consider this option.
Thank you.
Good morning, Bonnie Reno, Swartz Creek. I'd like to say, first of all, thank you for the three individuals that are sitting up front for taking this meeting on and knowing that you did not have a quorum at that time, that you have taken the time to listen to us. So I do appreciate that. I do have some questions, starting off with what scientific and medical studies were reviewed by the board members and Dr. Hackert before making the decision to mandate masks for students and staff? What board meeting minutes reflect the scientific and medical studies that were reviewed and discussed prior to making the mandate? Where are the meeting minutes and the scientific and medical studies posted, written, or held so that the general public can read those said documents in order to make an informed decision? Who contacted Dr. Hackert from the commissioners with the demand to make the mask mandate take place? Where may a member of the general public find the communications that have taken place between each of the board members and Dr. Hackert? Where's the roll call vote taken at the Board of Commissioners meeting when the motion was made to have Dr. Hackert regarding the mask mandate? As a medical health officer of the Genesee County Health Department, is Dr. Hackert required to live in Genesee County since her address shows her located in Oakland County? Since Dr. Hackert's medical license issued from Denver, Colorado, expired April of this year,
10 seconds, ma'am.
what type of license does she hold here in Michigan? I am not condemning or criticizing people for their choice to wear a
Ma'am, your
mask.
time is up.
I want the right.
Can we have some order, please? Commissioner Shoemaker.
Before we get into the questions, because that's going to be a longer process, my bladder would like to be relieved. Can we use the restroom real quick, please?
Sure, we'll take a 5-minute recess.
Thank you.
Can we come back to order, please? Okay, we're going to go down to the business at hand. There's no communications or reports. So we'll move down to this discussion portion of our agenda, where we will have Commissioners Davis and Commissioners Shoemaker address some of your questions and concerns to Dr. Hackert, who will be on a Zoom call with us. And as soon as we can get Dr. Hackert, I'll turn this over to Commissioner Shoemaker and we can proceed.
Dr. Hackert, can you hear us?
I can. Yes, we can hear you, Josh.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Commissioner Shoemaker.
I'm gonna start out with this. I'm gonna go through these questions. I have been emailed and sent and texted and asked so many questions. I'm gonna try to get through them. If they're redundant, once in a while we might miss one. I've tried to eliminate the ones that are the same question over and over again. I apologize. What I am not gonna read are opinions or anything else during this forum, public comment that was allowed to be stated. I'm not going to read a few that I thought were inappropriate for the situation right now. I am going to state this. I'm saddened with the format of this because I was not involved in the conversation which led to the way this meeting was handled, and yet the people who created this format are not here, which I don't care if you disagree or agree with it. I think that's kind of just I don't know. It's just, I hope the ones that disagree with me on things I say or do, please come talk to me. I'd love to sit down with you. I'd love to, if you want me to wear a mask, I'll wear my mask. I'll do what makes you feel comfortable to have that conversation, because that's what the best format for this is. I'm not going to allow any, I don't want to have to stop because of yelling or screaming during this or anything else like that. I'd like to get Dr. Hackert's answers or corporate counsel, because there was some questions raised about state of emergency and whether she can push these mandates during the state without a state of emergency. So I think that'd be the first question I'd like to get to order is, can the health officer impose a mandate without the county being in a state of emergency?
Well, I haven't researched that because I'm hearing this for the first time being asked, but I believe the law does not require a state of emergency for her to use the public health code to institute what she instituted. There does not need to be a state of emergency declared by anybody.
If we looked into it, is that something we could post on the website and the health department website, if possible, once it's there so people can read it and see that?
Post what?
Just the statute or the law that states that she does not have to have a state of emergency.
The statute doesn't say that it doesn't say that. I mean, we could find the statute for you that gives her the power. But
Yeah,
it's not,
that's fine, so people can see it.
Yeah, but there's nothing that says you don't need a state, or you need a state of emergency to do this. It doesn't say that.
Oh, that's a damn shame.
Okay, as we move forward, there will be no catcalls, no disrespect shown from the audience, or we will shut it down. Commissioner Shoemaker, proceed.
Okay. I had this sent in to me. I'm not going to say people's names. I'm just going to move forward. One was to Dr. Hackert, why she did not go through K through 12, and was she pressured by the question, actually myself, to not do so?
At the time that I issued the K through 6 order, there had been no other public health orders coming from local public health officers. And I wanted to ensure that the children whose parents had no option whatsoever to get them the vaccine would be protected when they went into a congregate setting such as schools before their parents had the right to choose the option for vaccine. However, that was given when our numbers were not as high as they currently are, as well as the fact that there has been much more data coming out even in the last week, since the last 2 weeks certainly, regarding the necessity of going to K through 12.
Okay. Commissioner Davis.
Yeah. So first I wanted to say thank you, Dr. Hackert, for speaking with us. I think everyone in this room is concerned about their kids' safety. It's whether or not masks are effective in keeping them safe. In the last meeting, we had some people come up and discuss why they're in favor of masks. And these were just observations, but I noticed glasses fogging up when people were wearing heavier duty masks. I noticed someone set her mask on the podium that 50 other people had just walked up to. I noticed another person that took her mask off had the inside, she was touching the inside of her mask. So my question to you is, how do we expect 5-year-olds, 6-year-olds, 7-year-olds to properly use these masks and be protected? I find them doing more harm than good and just creating, there's bacteria on them. And so that's, my biggest concern is whether or not we can just say that they're effective and that our kids are safe because they're wearing these breathable cotton masks that a lot of studies have shown that they don't do any good.
Yes, thank you. That's a really important question, and I think that is the key to many of the people's concerns, is that whether or not masks in children, when they are, when they are, wearing them for more than a couple hours, or their, glasses are fogging up. A couple points to that. Masks are used as a source control. They are not the N95s that are protective of, say, someone in a room with someone who has tuberculosis. That would then require the fit testing, and it also has it coming in, and more control over it going in and out. When you want to do source control, which means you are not allowing the respiratory droplets, and at the beginning of a cough or a sneeze or even singing or shouting, the aerosolized particles, what will become aerosolized, get caught in the mask going out. So even a wet mask will protect from droplets going out. That's why they get wet. That's why they get, buildup of snot and, other mucus inside the mask, is because it's preventing those things from getting into the environment. So to make masks particularly effective, that's why everyone needs to wear them. So you don't have the source of an asymptomatic or a mildly symptomatic case that doesn't realize that they have COVID, shouting, singing, whatever they're doing, and spreading the infection.
Okay, so back to my other point though, I noticed the parents were touching the mask, they set them on the podium. Again, would that not do more harm than good?
Oh. No, so I also am guilty of that. I try not to, but you'll see me do the same thing like this. So again, it's source control. We long ago learned that COVID really is almost never spread by touching a surface unless that surface is wet from someone's recent cough. And then you have to touch it into a mucous membrane, either your mouth, your eyes. So yes, that's just as likely to do it, but it's less likely to have more germs on a surface if you're wearing a mask than if you're not. So you can touch the mask. You just have to remember to wash your hands before you eat, before you touch your eyes, just like you would wash your hands, but it's less so when everyone is wearing a mask.
Okay, so I have one more question here with that. So senior industrial hygienist Stephen Petty has produced a series of podcasts regarding children and masks based on CDC recommendations. Stephen states that COVID particles are aerosols and not droplets. Droplets are greater than 5 to 10 micron in size. Aerosols are less than 5 micron in size. So COVID-19, I'm told, is 0.09 to 0.12 in size. He also says that 1 COVID micron is 40,000 times smaller than the cross-section of a human hair. So why is anyone wearing a mask when the COVID micron is small enough to fit through the mask? And this is not just his opinion, there are others as well.
again, thank you for this opportunity to address a few of the comments that came up earlier. One is that the reason my medical license in Colorado lapsed is because I am practicing medicine in Michigan. The reason I had a license in Colorado to start with was in 2018, I went to do a fellowship in occupational and environmental medicine at the University of Colorado and became NIOSH certified in total worker health. I also was actually just informed by the past president of the American Industrial Hygienist Society that rather than having to take the exam, which I am 100% qualified to take, they are going to nominate my membership as an honorary membership without having to take the exam, because I had planned to take the industrial hygienist exam this August, but COVID and working here in Genesee County has been more than occupying my time with that. So I'm not sure if Stephen, is it Perry or Petty?
Petty.
Petty, is he also an MD or a DO?
I'm not quite sure.
So as an MD, MPH, also fellowship trained in occupational and environmental medicine, I am qualified to be an industrial hygienist. I had planned to take that this month. I did not. And I would be in charge of all the industrial hygienists who are not MDs or DOs.
So do you disagree with that statement then?
Absolutely, because as I said, masks are used in groups to prevent source control. So when you have something coming out from your mouth, it doesn't matter if it's large or small, it's still going to be stopped by something that is against your face. The models, which I know some people object to, but it's important to be able to see that, and it does reflect what's happening, just as people have realized that your glasses fog up if you're wearing a mask. That's because the viruses that would normally be spewed out up to 30 feet away are going straight up and sometimes out the bottom of it. And so the viruses stay around that person more. And that fits exactly into what was said about how long, if everyone's masked in a room, it takes about 120 hours before half of the classroom or half of whatever space you're looking at would become infected with COVID-19. If there are no masks, it's about 3 hours and you would infect half of the class. So it is a remarkable help to reduce the number of people exposed to COVID if someone is sick and asymptomatic or mildly symptomatic. There was just a case in Marin County, California, where one teacher, everyone was masked, the teacher was masked, she took her mask off to do story hour. She had mild symptoms that she attributed to allergies, and she was in school for 2 days with these mild symptoms, reading, and they actually came out with a separate thing saying, please don't fault the teacher. She took it off while she was at the front of the class to do story hour. And you can see, and it's posted now on our website, the link for that, but you'll be able to see that within the 2 days that she was there, 12 of the 24 students became infected. Also, those students spread it to other students when they were at lunch in a courtyard outside. The Delta variant has changed all of the parameters we had started to think of about how to keep children safe.
My next question is, if we're seeing the rates increase, which I'm not going to doubt that they are, I'm going to question later on what age group they're in, but if we are, then why has the state of Michigan Health Department not mandated this? I've heard all this talk about this being political. They obviously have more resources than the Genesee County Health Department. I think we all would agree to that. Why has the state not stepped in and mandated masks for all of our K through 12 students?
I agree, that's an outstanding question. I cannot actually give you an answer to that. It would have to be coming from the state.
Okay. You ready? Or I can go again.
Yep, I'm just going back to the same point here that most 5-year-old kids and 6-year-olds are probably wearing really breathable cotton masks. Every time I see you, Dr. Hackert, you're wearing a more heavy-duty mask. Are those cotton masks doing something for them?
Absolutely. And we did just put on a link that will have about 60 different articles showing the effectiveness at both an epidemiological studies, some observational studies, some kind of retrospective studies. We can't actually expect anyone to do a case control study where you develop the study to start with. That would be like asking people to do a case control study with a certain number of children using a car seat for a year and a certain number of children not. We know from all of the other evidence that masks will reduce it, and depending on how effective those masks are at stopping the respiratory droplets going out is how much you will be able to help protect people in a room. For me, I do a lot of tuberculosis cases. I just got used to wearing this mask. So when I came back from Colorado after doing that fellowship, I was working at Henry Ford Allegiance Health as a senior staff physician in the clinic. At that time, I saw about 150 patients early on from the state prison systems as correction officers, and treated those people who were exposed back in March and April. And that's why I do have some of the ramifications of what the long COVID symptoms are. When I came to Genesee County, my last day of work at Henry Ford was on December 30th, and I was still seeing patients I had been seeing since May, April with long COVID symptoms. So it is critical to try and reduce it, even if you can't reduce it 100% or 90%, even to reduce transmission of 35%, to give that longer amount of hours that people could be in a classroom together to keep our children in school is going to help reduce the number of cases that we see in the community, in the children, and not have children quarantined.
And do you have any opinions on the long-term effects of wearing masks?
Yes, there are many children who have worn masks for months, if not years. You can look at the children who have cancer. 43 children a day are diagnosed with cancer in the United States. They are wearing masks. They have been wearing masks. A 4-year-old goes out of their house and stops and says, "Wait, where's my Mickey mask?" Because she knows that if she gets a cold, if she gets anything at all, that she will be back in the hospital. Her parents know that, and they teach them and model how to wear a mask out in public when they may need to protect themselves.
My next question would be, I always complain it's a one-size-fit-all. This is a frustration out in my district and area from the schools and other people. When we put this mask order in place, I want to know if there's any thought to the out county, because unfortunately they border counties that do not have mask mandates, and these children are allowed to switch schools under school of choice, which is costing these school districts revenue. They are also homeschooling at a larger rate. We saw that last year, and we've seen an increase this year. Was there any thought of what it would do to the schools in the out county and how we could help them so we could find a middle ground so they wouldn't lose these students to Livingston County, which, as far as I knew, does not have a mask mandate. Lapeer County does not have a mask mandate. Tuscola County does not have a mask mandate. So was there any thought of those school districts on how the revenue loss would actually hurt them or affect them?
Yes, there absolutely was. And I think that if you look at Livingston County right now, I've actually received several emails saying, "Thank you, I am a parent in Livingston County, and I am enrolling my children in Fenton schools because of the mask mandate." So it goes both ways. And currently, Livingston County is one of the leaders in the number of COVID cases in Michigan. They have a test positivity of 11.6% as of the 26th, and 214 of the weekly cases per 100,000, when our county is still at 140. We're still, all the counties that were kind of not in high, they're all becoming high now. And when you look at Washtenaw, Ingham, and you wonder why they don't have a mask mandate in place, it's because their schools, just like the city of Flint and Beecher School District, early on came out with their own mask mandate from pre-K to 12th grade or kindergarten through 12th grade. Had our schools done that when I gave the directive that I strongly advised doing that on August 4th or 5th, no, what it was taken as was a reason to not require any mask mandates. So not a single school district out of our 23 school districts, only the 2 that already had mask mandates in place, only those 2 continued to have the mask mandates. No one took it when it was a directive, a strong recommendation based on my experience and knowledge and expertise on how to reduce COVID transmission in schools, keep children in schools, and reduce the number of people who have to go home and quarantine. That's why I switched it.
A lot of other questions I've been getting from concerned parents are they can't find what they need to do to get their kid excused from wearing a mask. I know some people had health issues, some anxiety. What steps do they need to take to be excused or exempt from wearing a mask in school?
So I'm not sure when those questions came in because the school districts all received last week some additional information with very specific guidelines on what qualifications will meet the reason to exclude from mask use. So I would just advise looking at that because it is now very specific.
Okay. It's on the website as well?
Yes.
Okay.
I had another question from a parent. Why are we not accepting antibody testings as a mean to try and prevent disruption of education? If vaccinated students are not required to quarantine, then why are those who have already contacted the virus in close contact required to do so? Why can we not provide a positive antibody test to allow these students to continue and have the same privilege as those who are vaccinated?
So that's something that I actually thought of as well early on and was part of a study at Henry Ford looking at the number of days the antibodies would be present and whether or not they could indicate protection. And while we were still using all of our correctional officers as the subjects of that to test to find out when the antibodies would decrease so that it was no longer positive to use, there was many studies were coming out at the same time. So what they have found is that one, with the Delta variant, it's changed all of that. People who previously had natural immunity for at least 180 days no longer will have that natural immunity for the 180 days. And then also Puerto Rico, which is one of our United States territories, they have 78 of their population who's either been previously infected with COVID or vaccinated, and they're still having very high transmission now with the Delta variant. So it's very unfortunate. I wanted to be able to do it that way too, but we can't.
If I may continue, I'm at all, because I'm seeing studies, and I know I'm not as experienced as you are in this area, but it doesn't take somebody with a PhD to understand that you're seeing the studies out of Israel stating the fact that the people who've had COVID, actually their immunity is actually higher against the Delta variant. And the fact that these children are being punished once again, it seems like, for not going out and getting stabbed. That's the way I see it. And Dr. Hackert, to all respect, I said, I have a lot of parents concerned with this because, it seems like we're pushing these kids, even though the data's there, to get this vaccine. And that's what these people are afraid of. That's really what it comes down to, is they're afraid of giving up their right because they don't trust the government. And do we blame them? Do we hold them accountable? Or do we try to find middle ground? And I just would like us to look into, you, because you're the one that can mandate this, actually look into allowing these kids who have had COVID before the same rights as the kids who've been vaccinated, because there are studies, and I'm sure you've read the one out of Israel, who state differently, than what you're saying. So I would love to see you look into that further, if you, because I think it'd be more fair to our children, those who have had it, you know, that they have the same rights. Because in France, if I remember correctly, France actually, as far as, yes, they required vaccination, but they also said that if you've had COVID, that gives you your card. Go ahead, Mary.
So I do continue to look into that because, as I said, that is something that I really questioned why we couldn't use it at the beginning and was part of a study to do that. So I am continuing to look at those. I am not aware of the one that you had said about Israel, but I am aware that Israel is one of the first countries in the world to actually start doing the booster shots to increase the immunity for that. But right now, I am not talking about vaccination for children whatsoever. I think that is something that must come from the state, just like all the other vaccine requirements. It's not at all something that I would ever intend to do at a local level. I would not. However, we're talking about masks right now, and wearing the mask is something that does help prevent the spread of COVID.
Well, here's just, I'm sorry to add on to this, Mick, but here's this question, hypothetical. We have 2 young people in, let's just say, Goodrich High School. One has been vaccinated, one has had COVID. The one who has COVID, or had COVID, comes in contact. The one who's been vaccinated didn't. The one who has COVID is penalized for a longer period of time, and the other one's allowed to continue with their education. How is that right or fair?
So there is an exception for the 3 months. If you've had COVID within 3 months, you do not have to quarantine at all. And the reason it's 3 months is because even though we expect the vaccines to prevent reinfection within 6 months, it's not been holding true for the Delta variant. And so the Delta variant is just one more variant coming up. There's going to be, because of the number of cases, there's going to be more variants that are developing in people who are infected with Delta. And we don't know exactly how that's going to come out because we just don't know what's coming next. So 3 months, it's pretty confident that it will protect you against a severe case. And so that's the exception. So if someone's had COVID within 90 days, then they would not be put in quarantine.
I'm going to take some time later, and I hope you do with me also, to go over some of the articles I'd like to show you that are by reputable news outlets to show what's happening in Israel. They were 80% vaccinated. The Delta variant is attacking their vaccinated more than actually people who've had COVID. And I'd encourage you to look at that before we make any more policy changes on this, because I have a lot of parents that are concerned with the fact that their child has had, it's been over 3 months, but yet the studies are showing something different from that standpoint. So I'm hoping we can get together on that. Meredith, go ahead.
Okay, so this one's a little bit off topic, but still a question from a constituent. He's actually 17 years old, and in his experience, whenever they're exposed to someone who has had COVID in their classroom, an unvaccinated person has to quarantine, so he misses school, and a vaccinated person does not. But it's still, we now know that, well, we did know that vaccinated people can still carry COVID. So how is this fair?
It has to do with the amount of risk and also the amount of distance. So if they're within 3 feet, then they would be in quarantine.
I mean, I'm not quite sure, but his question and his experience was saying that if they're both sitting next to, and one was vaccinated, one was not, the one that was unvaccinated had to quarantine, and one that was vaccinated did not.
So I'm assuming this would be someone who would be in the 12 and up age.
Yes,
And
yes.
you said
He's 17.
So I'm assuming a guy. So I don't know the situation. I would suspect that if they're teenage boys, they're probably sitting between 3 and 6 feet apart from each other at lunch. And that would be the distance between those who are vaccinated don't have to quarantine, and those who are unvaccinated do have to be quarantined.
My next question is, how many pediatric cases do we have in the county right now?
I'm sorry, Commissioner, can you please repeat your question?
I'm sorry, I'm not close enough to the mic, I apologize. How many pediatric cases do we have in the county as of today?
I will defer to one of our epidemiologists here.
Yes, so in the last, let's see, sorry, let me just double check. We had 41 pediatric cases that are 0 to 11, and then 28 that are from 12 to 17.
And
15% of our cases.
what time period is that
in
from?
The time frame is from August 12th to August 18th. We saw a 2,000% increase in 0 to 11-year-olds from the week of July 1st to 7th to August 12th to 18th, and then an 867% increase in 12 to 17-year-olds during that time frame.
For those of us who don't like percentages being rolled around either way, could you give me the total difference? Because I can make a number if I have 1 and it turns into 3. That's a large number as far as a percentage if I want to increase it. So if we could, in the effort of transparency, give me the totals again,
Yeah,
compared to
so
where they
from-
were and where they are now.
During the week of July 1st to July 7th, we had 3 12 to 17-year-olds and 2 0 to 11-year-olds. During the week of August 12th to August 18th, we had 42 0 to 11-year-olds and 28 12 to 17-year-olds.
Okay. One last one I have in here, and I'm gonna continue on their question. Sorry, there was 4 questions from there, and there's actually, how many of those have been hospitalized, and how many are currently hospitalized?
We currently had, as of that week period, we had 1 inpatient in Genesee County. But there have been 902 peds inpatients in Michigan for COVID-19.
Just simply,
Yeah, simply.
are there any kids in Genesee County hospitals now with COVID? That's
Yes.
their cause, that they're there for?
Yes,
And how many is that number again, please?
1.
Okay, thank you.
So order, please.
So that brings me to the question, what aspect of this virus is worse than the flu and warrants masks? Because the recovery rate is over 99%, 99.3%, I believe? Nope, 99.9%.
All right, well, thank you. It's almost like you were feeding me that question, which you weren't. But the Journal of Pediatrics recently published, like last month, a study comparing 250,000 children who had COVID-19 with 2 million cases of influenza in children, and they looked at those children 30 days after diagnosis. Comparing to the flu, COVID-19 was 3.9 to 5.6 times likely requiring hospitalization with COVID-19 compared to the flu, 7.9 times likely to cause hypoxemia, which is low oxygen for the children, and 2.5 more times likely to get pneumonia from COVID rather than influenza. Also, they noted that there are no chronic consequences of influenza that would be similar to the multi-system inflammatory syndrome or long COVID symptoms. So 1 in 1,000 children who have COVID-19 will get the multi-system inflammatory. Almost all do recover, but it does require hospitalization of that child. In addition, we are not looking at, in addition, there's symptoms. About 24% of kids at 6 weeks do have at least one symptom remaining of COVID-19. And, it can be as something as minor as fatigue, but we don't want our children starting the school year after such a tough time last year with the risk of having, fatigue 6 weeks out of having the infection. So if you want to look at influenza deaths, compared to COVID deaths, in Genesee County, we've had 998 total deaths from COVID, 584 deaths in Genesee County in 2020. In flu, in 2020, there were 17 deaths in Genesee County. Year to date, we've had 339 cases of COVID-19 with no cases of, or no deaths from the flu this year. And if you say, well, that's not children, we want to talk about children, I would argue there are significant consequences for a child to have their parent hospitalized and even worse, die. There are many, many reasons why you want to protect the adults and not have a child lose a parent.
But at this point, people have, adults in particular, they can make their own decision of whether or not they're protected by getting the vaccine.
True.
I'm going to breeze through a couple of these real quick because I can answer them myself. One individual asked if Dr. Hackert had to live in the county to work here. No, she does not. And the other was question her license. She already answered that for us from there. My question then is, as far as these rules to the schools, I would like to know the policy with enforcement through the county when a student does not comply with these rules. What actually is the process that takes place?
So that also is addressed in our recent letter on August 27th to the Genesee County School Superintendents. They asked for what the legal ramifications would be. And I would defer to Brian, our Corp Counsel, but non-compliance with an emergency order is a violation of the law. And the health department can issue a citation, impose a fine upon the school or school district in violation of that order. If the complaint is received by the health department, the school will be contacted to discuss the situation, and then there are potential next steps. It is the school that has been charged with enforcement of this mask mandate, so the action is against the school.
Can I continue with one more? It's just in the same line of questions. So at this point, though, we're asking the schools to do it. If the schools don't, the health department is, what you're stating to me, is going to go out and actively pursue the school, write a citation against the school, and possibly the school could be shut down if they do not follow this mandate.
The first step would be to discuss the situation with the school, and we would continue there with our ability to do preventive measures to make the schools enforce that mask mandate. But I would defer to Corp Counsel as to the exact ramifications of that.
Okay, so another main topic that's been brought up is mental health issues caused by COVID in general, and also for the kids wearing masks. A lot of people had stories in regards to that. What is the health department doing to help with that?
We are helping with that by offering vaccines as soon as they are available to children. We are offering vaccines available to their parents. We are asking that people wear masks in the classrooms when they are near, in a closed setting, and trying to reduce the spread of COVID-19.
I don't know what any of that has to do with mental health.
A couple of these are, I just want to try to be fair in the order they came to me as far as questions. Some people are asking whether the board actually voted on this. The county board took action. No, it is an action, I believe, strictly taken by the health officer, Dr. Hackert, and she's allowed to do that under whatever ruling that corporate counsel is going to get us from there. People have asked for the meeting minutes and the science that supports it. I would ask that if we could continue to post something, if the health department would, showing its findings and why it's taken the stance it has for more transparency.
I do want to just address one perhaps misperception that would then explain why there was a threat against me. It is the position that makes this order. So if something were to happen to me, or if I were to resign, the health officer rulings on this, the mask mandate would still stay in place. It's not something that is particular to me, it is particular to the position of health officer.
Okay. This is just, I'll read this one and then I'll let Meredith go back at. Where may a member of the general public find the contact information, communications between the Board of Commissioners and Dr. Hackett for reviewing? The only way to do that is to FOIA that information from your local county commissioner or your commissioner from that standpoint.
So several emails I've gotten are the side effects of the vaccine on children, and how does it compare to the side effects of just surviving the virus if they were to get it?
So today we're here to talk about the masks and not about the vaccines.
But the mask mandate won't be lifted until children can get the vaccine, 2 months after.
They don't have to get the vaccine.
Dr. Hackert, after the vaccine's available for these children and their families who choose to take it, will the mask mandate be lifted for K through 5 or 6, I'm sorry?
So as we all are very, very aware, since the beginning of this pandemic, things change very rapidly. There was one day last spring that 2 different times in one day, the recommendations changed from the CDC based on studies that were coming in. So when the mask mandate was made on the 11th, that was the intent. So we are looking at a higher rate of transmission right now, and we will be looking at other means of protecting the children, but it's going to depend on what the rate of transmission in our county is.
Oh, good. Okay. Oh, I got a boatload. I'm just trying to think where to go next.
So if you look at the order as it stands now, it says and low to moderate.
What is the parameter for low to moderate? Is there a number? Is there a threshold that we have? Is there a certain percentage of our population that's being used to meet that threshold? I think that would help a few people. I've heard that throughout different conversations, is they just like to know what the threshold is. Where is the number that we go, okay, as an example, there's a number that should be in someone's head that we go, guess what, all kids are going virtual in the county. There should be that number. If this is where we're relying on the science, this is where we should be. There should be a number where we also determine that, guess what, we could take masks off and this is a safe environment for our children to be educated. So a lot of people are having that, and my question to you is, do we have that number? Is there that number for each of those circumstances?
Yes, you can find that on the mystartmap.info. The risk threshold for low is less than 10 cases per 100,000. For moderate, it's 10 to 49 cases per 100,000. For substantial, it's 50 to 99 cases per 100,000, and for high is greater than 100 cases per 100,000.
Next one here is, why do we feel it's safe for our children to walk through the store, into a restaurant with no mask, a movie theater, Planet 3? If you don't know what that is, it's the kids bounce type amusement place that's, when you leave there, generally, it's kids are sweaty and it's a little different. But why are they not required to wear masks there when it's spreading and only in schools? These are enclosed spaces for longer periods. So their question is, why not those places then?
I highly, highly encourage them to be wearing masks in those places. That has been not only for children, but for adults. That has been recommended since the beginning of August when I made the directive. And Genesee County did put into effect that employees and contractors coming into county buildings should be wearing a mask as of now.
Can we see that where people are questioning it, that one ear is good and one ear is not, where the government has control, where it's so vital for our kids to get their education, this mandate is put down, but where things that aren't as valuable, but people are still doing, there's not an order there, where it seems like it should be, everybody's free right to actually go to school, and what these parents want for their children should be fair. Yet, and I'm trying to think how to word this, please forgive me, but it just doesn't seem like that's the right approach to take to it, that something that is needed so vitally as school would be the first place we start, instead of taking away the recreational side of it, which is we should have attacked as far as the mask mandate first, or all.
So schools are something that children need to attend. That is something that they are in close confinement with, and I do urge all indoor facilities in Genesee County to put in mask requirements to participate indoors.
Forgive me, I'm trying to read through some that I unfortunately do not feel or
I have another
necessarily
question
needed.
that we heard a lot were teachers that spoke or emailed me or called me, and they said that these kids still are not wearing masks the entire day at school. You have recess and lunch so if someone that had COVID, why are we making them wear masks maybe 6 hours out of the day when there's still going to be a time where they could become in contact with these kids at recess and stuff like that?
So the point is mitigation to reduce the potential exposure. Children do need to eat their lunch. They do need to play outside. I'm not sure what else to say about that. Those are the things that we're trying to do to reduce the spread. Just like the numbers I had given you before, that if everyone is wearing a mask inside a classroom, it takes 120 hours of exposure to spread that infection to 50% of the classroom. And by wearing masks, we can reduce that, or by not wearing masks, it would increase to only 3 hours where 50% of the classroom would be infected.
Okay, so I have another question here from someone from Davison. Since the mortality rate of COVID-19 in Michigan is only around 2% across all age groups combined and well under 1% for children, why do you have to say to those who believe the shutdowns and mandates, what do you have to say to those who believe the shutdowns and mandates, including mask mandates, of the last year and a half have disrupted or destroyed many more lives than they have saved?
I guess it depends on your point of view. I think 1 out of 50 people dying from this disease is something worthwhile to prevent if we can do it by wearing a mask.
Where is that data from? 1 out of 50?
You just said 2%? That's 1 out of 50.
Are these mask mandates based strictly on your judgment, or are you being pressured by our state government is his next question.
They are absolutely not based solely on my judgment. This is the recommendation from the American Academy of Pediatricians, which is 70,000 pediatricians who have said to wear masks in school. It is the CDC. It's also the guidelines of the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. And also, I have put on our website 60 different studies from 2020 and 2021 showing that masks do reduce transmission in a community setting.
So again, these are just, do you want me to, you can go ahead.
Okay. I'm not going to read you the whole thing, Dr. Hackert. Mostly, it's in support of Dr. Hackert here. The question would be if you were or are considering extending the mask mandate through K through 12, and what data will you need to see to actually do that?
I am looking at the transmission level in the community to assess that and would be basing it on transmission level with the mask mandate coming off after we achieve low or moderate transmission in the community.
If I can go again, if you're okay. I've got several, Dr. Hackert, that I'm trying to just go through that. I mean, they're longer portions of statements, but the main thing most of these parents are concerned with is the anxiety and the stress on their children and how they're handling it. And, you know, we all know we don't live in each other's households to understand, you know. My dad used to always have a saying, you know, when I would date a girl, he'd go, "She's nice, but I don't live with her," you know, because we don't know what goes on in somebody's household with them. And these people's children, and there are children that, I mean, I have 3, and just so everyone knows, Dr. Hacker and I have had several conversations about my children, and she knows this. But the long-term effects of this, I don't know if we will see, and I understand there's long-term effects to COVID also. But I think most of these parents are trying to get an answer about maybe some help of what do we do about the anxiety? What is being done? Can the county health department and actually, can we spend some of that money to send counselors to the schools to help these kids? If we're going to create the problem, we should be creating the solution also as elected officials. And the fact is we have a bunch of money from ARP. Maybe we should take that money and give it to you, Dr. Hacker, and we can hire some people to go to these schools and help these kids then if we're willing to do this to people. You know, and there's a lot of fear out there.
Quiet, please.
You know, so that's one of the main things. And if you could give me some insight on your opinion on what to do with actually the anxiety these people are going through, that the families are going through, the children are going through, you know, that would be greatly appreciated.
So yes, I have young adult children, and they also have really been devastated by the pandemic, as I think everyone in this room has, you know, in our collective rooms. And it's like nothing we've ever experienced before. And so I do urge as much mental health, you know, being addressed as possible. And I think that would be probably the money distribution would be coming through the Board of Commissioners, and that would be allocated to the schools so that they could choose how they want to address mental health in the schools. But I 100%, 120% support getting children the help they need to cope with this, because it is dramatic.
You got more?
These are some questions from a person in Linden. I'm not sure if you were going to answer these or not, but who pays your income and who hired you? Are you related to anyone in the CDC, FDA, or NHA, White House administration? Do you want to answer those?
Sure. I was hired by the Board of Commissioners, and I am not related to anyone there. I am related to many, many dozens of Revolutionary War soldiers. My father also, as other people, fought in the Pacific War and World War II. So I also am strongly patriotic, and it has, very little bearing on the fact that I am trying to keep our children safe by wearing masks to reduce exposure to COVID.
And again, I just want to keep asking questions that are getting sent to us. How long have you served in this capacity, and what was your position before this present position?
Happy to answer that. So as I said, I was a senior staff physician as well as a part-time medical director at Jackson County, Michigan, since August of 2019. Prior to that, I spent the year at the University of Michigan, or University of Colorado, doing a fellowship in environmental and occupational medicine, also getting a certificate in total worker health through the NIOSH certification. And prior to that, I was the medical director for Oakland County for about 9 years, and has my education background is 14 years of college at the University of Michigan, including the MD, MPH, as well as their preventive medicine residency, University of Michigan.
Okay, I have a few more texts being sent in. I'm not playing Miss Pac-Man on my phone right now, so I'm going to read these for you. Unfortunately, a lot of people feel, and I'm just going to summarize this up, how it affects each child, and it's personal to them. Their child is personal to them, just like the people who want the masks are. It's personal to them to keep their child, what they feel is protected. On the other hand, these people feel what's best for them. Their child is to keep them unmasked. Do you see any middle ground or area where we can work with the local school districts to come up with a better plan so we can keep both groups happy?
So I'm going to defer to Deputy Health Officer Kaylee Blaney to address the idea that was proposed on cohorting, because I think she can speak to it very, very well.
So we did discuss with some of the school districts. A lot of the school districts wanted to do a cohorting plan where they wanted to separate children whose parents wanted them to wear masks and separate children whose parents didn't want them to wear masks. In an effort to try and bridge the gap, this is something that we considered, but ultimately, this idea of cohorting those students separately that provides protection between the two groups, but the cohort that is not masked, there's no other mitigation strategies in play, so it affords no protection at all from exposure within that cohort that is not wearing masks. And in the absence of other mitigation measures, that's not something that's recommended by the state of Michigan, the MDHHS, or the CDC. So that was not something that we could recommend to our schools because it does not protect against exposure within the cohorts. It only protects between the cohorts.
See, this is where a lot of these parents here are frustrated, though. And I'm one of them, and I understand for the people with masks, they're one of them. All that want masks, they're one of them. They're my children. They're my children. If they have staff there that's willing to teach them without a mask, and I think they learn better, they develop better, they socialize better, the carbon dioxide level is less in that environment without the mask. Who are you then, and this is a constitutional issue, who are you as a health department then to tell these people they're wrong? And that's why I think we need to find a middle ground to this, somewhere, something that is middle. Because you're going to push your science, great. We've had doctors, and Dr. Hackert, I would love to sit with you and I'll show you what I've got from doctors, respected doctors throughout the nation that feel otherwise. When have we gotten to the point where we quit thinking that we know what's best, or we started thinking we know what's best for someone else and their family? I don't know what each household is at night. I know my household with 3 teenage boys is a crazy place at night, okay? I know they have anxiety issues. I know they have social issues. I know they have fears and doubts over this virus. I know, I can tell you right now, and everyone knows this, I've been very clear about it. We all got COVID back at the end of February, end of March. My kids bounced back like it was nothing, Dad, not so fast. I don't think anyone, and if you argue, and if someone in our group wants to argue that this virus is not serious or it is not killing people, I would hope if you want to talk to me, I'll talk to you about the realities of when I had it and what took place and what happened to my father. But the fact is, it still comes down to we have civil liberties in this nation. And these people are tired of them being trounced on, and that's what it feels like. And what they're really scared of more and more, and Dr. Hackert, you can say you wouldn't do it, and I really believe you wouldn't force a vaccination on people. But guess what? They're scared of this happening to their children. They're scared of their children. This is a sign now, if you don't do this mask thing, you can't go to school and you can't educate your child. Now, if you don't take this vaccine, guess what? Your children, guess what, can't not just go to school, but guess what? You aren't going to be able to go to your job and pay to feed your children, and they are terrified. So I just have a question for you, and this is from me. You know, when the board last week shot down banning the vaccine passport, is that something you would have been in support of, or are you in support of freedom of choice for each individual?
Regarding the vaccine, I am supportive of vaccine freedom of choice, but that is not my decision to make. That is going to be a federal or a state decision on what vaccines are required.
Thank you. Thank you. And back to my point, do we think there's somewhere we can meet to figure this out with people so we can get back to making sure our kids are educated and safe? Because I don't see this issue going away. I think people are very upset. It's our job to defuse this as elected officials. I'm saddened that the rest of our elected officials are not here. There are some that I will totally give a free pass on this, but there's others that should have been here. Commissioner Winfrey, kudos to you, sir. I'm going to tell you, super proud. I don't even think you realize what it means to me that you did your job. Because whether you like what Commissioner Winfrey stands for, or Commissioner Davis or myself, they're at least here doing what they're supposed to do. And please, as far as Dr. Hackert goes, she is doing, I don't think there's malice in what she has done. I don't. I understand some people feel differently. I've got the opportunity to spend time with Dr. Hackert. I really don't believe that. Now, do I agree with it? No, I don't. I think the school should have the choice, and I've said it from the beginning. I think she'll agree with me in the fact that I have said that the school, my district is so different than what somebody else wants. And now what she's telling me, she didn't see the action from the schools that she liked as far as mask mandates, so she thought this would be best for the students to do so. My job as an elected official, and I was always told this all my life, is being around politics, is to be a problem solver, not a problem creator. We have created a large problem and a great divide in our county, and I'm looking for someone, and Commissioner Winfrey seems like the only one willing to even show up to the table to talk about how we fix this problem. So, Dr. Hackert, I would like to, if we could, arrange a meeting this week to sit down and talk to see if there's any way we can move forward with something to help solve this problem. And if you're set with where you're going to be with it, then, you know, unfortunately for everybody down here, it's going to continue to be a long period of time. So I would hope you would have time for me later this week. I would love to sit down with you and have a discussion and try to move this forward as far as finding something that will work for everyone and still keep everyone safe from there. So is that an option for you this week at all?
I will absolutely make time to meet with you. I enjoy our conversations as well. However, what you had said was a mischaracterization of what I had said earlier, and that was because the directive had come at a time when we were at moderate and not substantial or high. So we are well past high now, and that does require a different response.
Commissioner Davis, do you have any closing comments?
No.
Okay, I'd like to thank Dr. Hackert, her staff, Commissioner Shoemaker, Commissioner Davis, and all of you out in the audience for your opinions and thoughts. You know, at this point, we're going to adjourn the meeting. Mrs. Zopko, before you leave, I'd like to speak with you. The meeting is adjourned.